I mean, yeah, that is just technology. So,
Huzzah!
yeah, it's wonderful.
I love technology.
But if we didn't have technology, we wouldn't be able to do the show remotely. So, I mean,
That is true.
yeah. I mean, unless you want to make the drive up here to KC every 2 weeks.
Year? I'll drive up again in May.
That's not every 2 weeks.
No, it's every year.
Welcome to Preferred Enemies, the Warhammer 40k podcast that's got the know what's and the gubbins. I'm your host, Rob.
Dennis?
And Richard.
No Kevin this episode. He did join in, but he's currently on a different audio setup, and it was practically unintelligible. So we're going to give him the night off.
Yeah, he's traveling, so we'll let that be the excuse.
But yes, this episode's going to coming out a little bit out of schedule, and that is because we have the new Orks Codex. Codex Orks is in our hands, digitally speaking. Thank you to Games Workshop for providing us a copy to review. So we're going to take a look at what new codexes look like and what some of the new rules and styles. Now, some of this has already been released on Warhammer Community. Some of this apparently got completely leaked.
Yep.
Apparently, like on the Orks 40k subreddit, somebody leaked the entire codex.
Yeah.
So thanks for that. But anyway,
Do we want to start off with what's not in the codex?
yeah. Okay. So,
Is it Gazgul?
no, Gaz is absolutely in the codex.
Gaz is absolutely in the codex. As far as like the rules section and what kind of content we're looking at in a codex that is not specifically in this print codex.
Right. So if you have been familiar with codexes in past editions, they all follow kind of a similar pattern. There's a lore section. Then you have all the units. In recent editions, we've had detachments to choose from. And you get all the units. You get like your army rule, all your units. And then at the very end, points values. Also in 9th and 10th edition, we had crusade rules as well. We had the combat patrol section in 9th and 10th. Or at least in 10th. I don't think 9th had combat patrol. But 10th edition had combat.
I don't recall. I think it was 10th where that started.
Yeah. Those are all pretty standard things. The new 11th edition codex, well, let's see. There's no combat patrol section. Combat patrol rules are not in the codex at all. There's no crusade section. That is not a thing in 11th edition. There's also no points values.
Yep.
Now, I can't say I'm terribly surprised at this. And the reason I'm not surprised is Age of Sigmar 4th edition, when their new battle tomes started coming out, they did not have a points page either. They assume that you're going to use the Age of Sigmar version of the Munitorum manual or the app or what have you to look up the points and build your army.
Well, I'll put in my interjection, Rob. So here's us. When they put points in the codex, I complained because the points got outdated within a month.
Yes.
And now here I am thinking, I've got a codex that has no points. I'm complaining again.
Yeah. So win some, lose some, like not much you can do about this. I think not putting the points in print in the codex is not that big of a loss.
Yeah, because how many times did we have, an update almost immediately afterwards that did not match what was in the book? Like when the points dropped, it didn't match what was in the book. The books no longer have a QR code exactly to take you to the page with the points. Instead, you just have a lot of references to the app and a code to enter in to unlock your codex. Kind of the same thing we have now, but definitely more mentions of the app in the book, like explicitly so. And I think this does lean into the fact that this is an edition where the books, kind of like we had with the core rules, and however you feel about that. Again, we've litigated the issue of how I feel about the app and having not all the rules be in the core rules. But much as the core rules is not entirely a complete set of rules, the Codex by itself, the book itself, is not a complete guide on how to build an orc army. It does have all the rules for playing the units and for playing the various detachments, though that is all still there, with one other exception. Along with having no points, there's also no detachment points.
But that has the keyword points, so they can't have it.
And there's no forced dispositions. The word forced disposition doesn't even come up in the book. We discussed them at length last episode, and I think I just want to say maybe GW is hedging their bets.
That is a distinct possibility.
Because the closest mention they have is the detachments you select can affect the mission you play. Where this is the case, it is described in the mission rules in the Warhammer 40,000 app. I would say they've given themselves a little bit of an out. That's all I'm going to say. The downside of the content that is missing from this book is that it is harder to judge this book. I can't give you a rough estimate of what the points are going to look like. And that's going to be important when we get into some of the units and their rules, because it's hard to judge how powerful they're going to be on the tabletop without knowing roughly what the give and take on taking them is. Yeah, I can't tell you what the detachments are going to cost. We've got some guesses, but that's about as far as we can take it. I can't even tell you what units can lead what other units, like what characters can lead and join what units.
Yeah,
that is also not in here.
That did bother me. I was like, oh, this says leader. What can he lead? It doesn't say. Oh, this says support. What can it join? It doesn't say.
They do specifically call this out on page 119 under using datasheets, leader and support. Some units have the leader and support abilities. These units can form attached units. Leader and support units can only lead specific bodyguard units as listed in the Warhammer 40,000 app. I am surprised at that. Like, they don't even say, hey, we've got this website that has the points and all that. Like, we've got the field manual online. No, it's the app. This is an app-centric edition.
I mean, we were asking for more online, so here it is.
Monkey paw, middle finger. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah. So if this review seems a little incomplete, I would argue it's because this book is a little incomplete. Not having any combat patrol, again, moves combat patrol entirely in the app. It only exists in the app. We still have the kinds of things the combat patrol pages had, like with the painting guides. Those are still there. I do think that what they had in the past, where they'd have like the showcase and show you a bunch of models kind of just like piecemeal and maybe a couple pictures of them in context, that definitely has changed, and we'll get to that in a bit. I kind of like what they have in here a bit better, especially for newer players. But it's going to be kind of a little bit of a spotty review from a purely rules-focused I would say more balance-focused area, because I can't tell you. As of time of recording, we don't have that information. I don't know if they're ready to release that until this book is actually out on the streets, which it's going to be, if it's like any other release, it'll be a 2-week pre-order cycle, because we also know there's a bunch of new models coming out with it. Not all of them, like the new knobs, are not part of that wave of pre-orders, but there's a lot of models that will be coming out with this. So they may be waiting until it would be September 5th, as this goes on. This will be available then, and by then we should hopefully have the points and all the detachment stuff.
Do we want to mention the good thing? Like, it's not Orc specific, but there was a good announcement thing regarding the app.
Yes. As much as I have gone on about the app in the past, they did announce one thing about like what's in, because they didn't release. I think it was yesterday, saying like, well, what's in an 11th edition Codex, and they did specify when this Codex hits the app, legends will be added to the app. Finally.
Thank God. Yay. I am happy about that.
I am happy about that, and I'm hoping that means not only because like the Age of Sigmar app, which follows kind of a similar pattern to the 40k app, has had legends in it since they updated to 4th edition. So there's been no reason why they haven't been in there. They're just finally making that step, which tells me they may be on the path to having more narrative support, because that's generally where legends are going to be supported. So if you can build an army list with legends, that's fantastic. Love that. And hopefully that'll be something that'll be in place, and maybe in place for other codexes. I doubt it. They'll probably be waiting until they'll do it piecemeal as they roll out codexes, my guess. But hopefully by like grand narrative, you could actually, if you're not a weirdo like Dennis who's playing a brand new army that has no legends.
Hey, some of our guys are really legendary, though.
They're legendary, but they're still being produced and have official rules. So, but hopefully some of those other armies, like I just want to be able to have my cultist with firearms in my list. I would like to, I pay for the app. I would like to be able to build my list there. What's that?
You put the cultist arms on fire?
Well, that probably has happened more than once. Not intentionally. Also, yeah, there's the fact that there's no additional narrative support like through Crusade. I'm not surprised. That's kind of a thing we expected. But I will say all those pages that they cut have been made up for by a very large lore section. Like it's not quite 100 pages. It's about 85 pages, because there's several pages of splash images and introduction and like how to read a codex, etc. But we get a pretty large lore section, including lore for all the different major orc clans. All the orc units have at least a couple of paragraphs of lore. And I gotta say, the presentation on the lore section is some of the best they've had.
Yeah, this almost feels, you had mentioned before, like this isn't quite as in-depth, but it is quite a large breadth of information on the lore of this faction, and it looks really nice. It almost kind of reminds me of the Imperial armor books.
Oh yeah,
almost to an extent. Like I mean, it almost even looks visually, it looks better than those.
Yeah, the thing that to me it felt like splashy magazine spreads is how a lot of the text presentation looked to me. Also, the most orc glyphs we've ever seen in an orc codex.
Yes, and all kind of actually spelled out and defined what those glyphs actually mean to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, really, really well defined. I mean, we've had glyph pages before, but this, I think, one of the first ones were A, full color, and B, there's a 2-page spread which already has almost 40 glyphs on it. Or around 40 glyphs, and then there's additional blocks of 2 or 3 scattered throughout the lore section. And again, there's like 85 pages of lore, so you end up with a fair amount of glyph information, which is really cool to see. Now, I will say that, as you said, it is not deep lore. It is wide lore. And what I mean when I say that is, like, if you are looking for the deeper history of the orcs, if you are trying to find out if the orcs are in fact descended from the Krork, then created by the old ones, that's not in here. Do you want the history of orc battles in the Imperium? Also not in here. This is very much a snapshot of the orcs, who they are right now. But but a decent amount of information about all the stuff that orcs do and what their culture is like. And if you are new to 40k, or if you just like having a good amount of well-presented orc lore, will definitely scratch an itch. If you are more of a deep lore person, you're going to need additional sources for some of that. But definitely a better selection of lore than the 10th edition Orc Codex, which was like the 10th edition codexes were pretty slim.
Yeah.
Also, pour one out for the various characters who are not represented too much, like Boss Zagstruck. But we do have Captain Badrock represented, so still holding out hope that he'll get a new model of it.
Yeah. Hopefully, like just with the fact that the Flash Gets kit is still fairly new, relatively speaking, and the fact that It's a pretty awesome kit.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised, especially considering that it wasn't too long ago that they did that made to order of the old fine cast of Badruck, and then like his ammo grots, that maybe we'll see a new Badruck.
Hopefully. I mean, they'd specifically call out the freebooters and Badruck, so you gotta figure he's kicking around and they just are waiting for the right moment to release a new model, especially because we know the Codex unlocks future updates, so they're not leaving themselves pinned into, well, this is all, the only rules is what's in this Codex. We're going to have more stuff as time goes on, so no reason to think he won't come back, and at least he's mentioned, so it won't be a lore surprise to people when they release a new model for him. Not that we have proof that there's a new one, but I can't imagine they wouldn't put one out.
Yeah.
And actually, I mentioned that, we had some of the things that the Combat Patrol page had, with there was a painting guide, which includes how to paint orc checks, which if you're going to do goths, is a good thing to know. How to do a variety of orc skin tones and weathering, which, and this is all under the Warhammer Academy label, which is their new intro website and program, which I don't think we have mentioned that one, because they announced it in one of the big summer releases that they were doing a Warhammer Academy. So that is the official branding on the painting section. But they also do, instead of a showcase, they do 4 sample armies, showing a number of models for each, a bottom or top half splash image showing here's what an army like this would look like. One thing I do appreciate here is that they don't just show you this is a war horde and this is what a war horde army looks like. And they even say here's an example war horde, and then the army pictured below is an even larger version of that. But they actually give this is the detachment that you would take, and here are the characters you might take, and here are the units you might take. Here's the battle line, here's your dedicated transport, here are the other units. It gives you a starting army list. So if you were new to orcs, if you said I think orcs are cool, I played Dawn of War, and I thought orcs looked really neat, but I don't know where to start with building an army. Boom, here's an army list.
And they describe play style and the themes of the models that you would take in those armies.
Yeah, which that is really helpful information. As far as getting a new player, and a new player is going to come into this and be like, oh, the app is part of the game. I totally get this. I'll get the app. I get my book. Boom, I have everything I need. I think the app is only a throw off for old heads like me. When we're used to having all this stuff in the book. But yeah, having this here where it's this is how your army plays. These are the kinds of rules that you're going to get. These are the rules that your detachments will give you. And here's the units you should take. That is a really helpful guide. And they're 4 very different armies, because they give you a war horde, which is a traditional orc green tide kind of army. There's the Speedwa, which is very much Cult of Speed. In fact, one of the detachments is Cult of Speed. This is actually a 3 detachment army: Cult of Speed, Blitz Brigade, and Flyboys. So we are even fitting a flyer into here. There is a Dread Mob, which is all mechs and grots and big stompies. And then a Beast Snaga army. So 4 very different armies, different play styles. So again, we don't have points on this, but I went ahead and, using the existing points and doing one substitution. The only thing I had to substitute was there is a unit called a gun wagon. It is a variant of battle wagon, so I basically used the points from the battle wagon.
Yeah.
All of these came in around 1,200 to 1,300 points, which I felt is kind of an odd point spot to be at. It's either slightly too high to be 1,000 points, or it's way too low to be 2,000. And I'm wondering, it's are orcs getting a roughly 20 to 25% points drop to make these 1,000-point armies, or are they getting a 60% points increase to make these 2,000-point armies?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, based on the way they used to do combat patrols and how the points added up on those, big shrug.
Yeah, all bets are off. I have no idea.
So, I mean, it is kind of weird that they all kind of ran around that same point total. So, I don't know. We're just gonna, again, that's a thing. We're gonna have to wait to see what points are like.
Right. And if these are 1,000-point lists, because remember, like I said, this is an example one, and the larger one is what's in the picture. It makes me wonder, this is not meant to be a 2,000-point list. This is probably like 1,000. Although it's still like the Warhorde is a lot of models for 1,000 points, because it's a war boss, a Death Killer War Trike, a big boss, big mech with shock attack gun, 40 boys, a truck, a battle wagon, 6 war bikers, 20 Gretchen, a Def Dread, and 10 flash kits. That's a lot. That's a lot of units, even for 1,000 points. But it's like, if that is meant to be a 1,000-point army, then Orks are getting a massive point drop, and in which case we have a problem. Because this book has got some heavy swingers.
Yeah.
Or the Beast Snag Stampede, Beast Boss on Squigosaur, Beast Boss, Weird Boy, Pain Boss. Again, 40 Beast Snaga boys, 20 Gretchen, 2 units of 4 Squig Hog boys, a Hunter rig, and a Killer rig. That is also a lot. So yeah, I'm not sure. Hey, maybe these are 1,500 point lists, and my optimistic heart says we're going to 1,500 points instead of 2,000. I can dream.
I know. I still remember I did really like 1,500 points. So
1,500 points was a good time.
Yeah.
And they're, again, fun lists. I really do like this feature, and they also show, like, here's what an orc battlefield might look like showing here's how the orcs would look on the table, and talking about like using other pieces of terrain and just fit them onto the footprints. It's mostly the current terrain set, but it looks like they threw in a few things from some of like the orc kill team sets to mix it up a bit. So that's the presentation of the book. If you don't know who orcs are, basically they are the big green, it's always been soccer hooligans in the past. I think that given the World Cup just happened, I think this is still an apt description.
Yeah. But
basically gigantic green ape-like aliens that just love a fight. And I mean, the orc mentality in a nutshell is on page 14. Us orcs never lose a battle. If we win, we win. If we die fighting, so it don't count. If we runs for it, we don't lose neither, because we can come back for another go. See? They just love to fight. And the bigger, the louder, the messier the fight, the happier they are.
Yep. And the bigger you are, the more authority you have.
Right.
And that's actually just a biological result of them fighting and surviving. They just get bigger.
And there's some sort of weird psychic gestalt thing that goes on, that the more of them start following these bigger orcs and the more of them get together, you just end up with a critical mass of orcs, and that eventually spills over into a whole wah, and they just go on the rampage. And they fight until they get stopped, and then they dig in and fight some more. And then maybe they run away and fight some more. Meanwhile, looting and stealing everything they can, cobbling it together into things that absolutely should not work, but do because they believe it does, and so it does. And just the most ridiculous, ramshackle, over-the-top junk army that is one of the most absolute joys. Like, even if you don't play orcs, it is often fun playing against an orc army, just because they are wonderful and ridiculous, and like, you know what you're in for. There's no surprises with an orc army, really. The orc army wants to get up in your face and beat you in the face, and they're going to have a great time doing it. There's plenty of orc characters of particular note. We will be discussing a few of them as we get into the rules. And lots of just big patchwork clanky vehicles and machines.
And also the little hangers on, the Gretchen, a fantasy future like version of goblins that
Right.
are always just kind of hanging around too.
Yeah, the ones who are probably slightly smarter than the rest of the orcs, but are also much smaller and easier to squish. And they also follow with they're the bigger ones, so they're in charge. But they're also the ones that end up doing a lot of the more mundane work as far as like mechanics and farming
and mine finding.
Yeah, yeah. Just send out a bunch of. You will find the mines in the minefield. We've got plenty of grots.
Yep. Or carrying ammo across the battlefield. They do a lot of that too.
Basically, because the orc's too busy fighting, he's got to have somebody do that job for him, and that falls on Gretchen. As far as the rules, some of these again have been covered on Warhammer Community, but the big change is the way the wall rule works. And I kind of like what they've done with this is that instead of having just the wall be a thing that happens once per game, and it still is, but it is tied into what the wall does is, as I mentioned, like you get enough orcs together and their boss can call a wall. And at the start of the command phase, once per battle, you can use the ability. If you do, friendly orc units with the wah ability are riled up until the end of the next turn. Riled up is now a status effect, effectively, that gives you a 5-up invulnerable save, assault on all your ranged attacks, and advancing does not prevent you from charging. So anytime an orc is riled up, it gets those 3 things. And the great thing about having this as a status rather than explicitly triggered by an ability is that there are now other things that can cause something to be riled up. And it gives them much more design space to play around with that rule, which is really cool. I love seeing stuff like that. Kind of like how when they did Death Guard in 10th edition, they added like the diseased status and like, okay, well, this unit is diseased now, and so it gets all these other penalties based on like how we built our army. So that's kind of going along that same line. Like we've created a status, now we can play around with that status as we do other things.
Yeah, and also of note, like anything that's got the wall rule can just re-roll advance rolls.
Yep, just all the time, whether they're riled up or not. Yep. So this is an army that is going to move quickly, which is good because in the past, they have not always been the fastest army on foot, but now this gives them a little bit more consistency. This is good. Now, in addition, there's a couple of other army rules. They do not appear on all the units. Pretty much everything has WA, but there are a couple of army rules that are only on particular units. There's Da Boss, which primarily appears on war bosses and such. And this one is very simple. At the start of the battle round, if a model with his ability is your warlord, gain 1 command point. Just no roll, just automatically, boom, you get a command point. Now, I'm assuming this is not a replacement for you get a command point at the beginning of the game, or at the beginning of the round, or the beginning of the turn anyway. Yeah, I'm assuming this is not a replacement for getting a command point at the beginning of the turn. So that means if you have a war boss as your warlord, and they're still on the table, you get an extra command point. That is your 1 extra command point for the turn, but you get it.
Yep.
The other rule they have in here for the various orc psychers is unstable energies. And this one surprised me because it feels like this should be just a rule in the core rules.
Yeah.
Orc psychers units with this ability have a psycher level of 1 or higher specified in that unit's abilities. Each psychic ability has a psychic level of 1 or higher specified in that ability's name. In a battle round, a friendly orc psyker unit can use a number of psychic abilities whose total psychic level does not exceed that psyker unit's psyker level. Couple of things from this. First, we have we have multiple levels of psychers. Second, we have psychic abilities that are limited based on what your level is, and we can have abilities with multiple levels as well.
Okay, if this is what they're doing with psychic powers for all the other groups that are psychic, I'm excited.
Yeah, I like this. My concern is by not putting this in the core rules and applying an errata to everybody at the start of the edition, there are going to be armies that have this and armies that don't until everybody has their codex.
That is very true. I think they probably didn't put it in core book because not all armies have psychers. So they want to make this unique to each army. But yeah, I'm thinking like Eldar is known for psychers. And if they're one of the last ones in this release schedule, oh, that's going to be painful.
Yeah.
Like, I like seeing this. But they also like talk about how it's unstable energies and weird boys can, build up Wa energy, but sometimes they overcharge and it has lethal results. That's not mentioned in this rule at all. This is just like, oh yeah, wizards have levels. It's like, yeah, this could be a generic psyker rule. It just happens to be specific to orcs. So we will see if we see something like this in other codexes. It seems odd that this would be orc specific because, again, there's nothing here that really feels particularly orky. This feels like a generic psychic rule. But if it is a generic psychic rule, I like it. And they talk about psychic abilities. On datasheets, psychic abilities are specifically called out and list what their psychic level is. It feels almost like an old psychic phase, and it warms my heart.
Yep. I think not necessarily having to have a psychic phase and just kind of doing stuff in the phase that it's appropriate to do makes more sense to me. Has always made more sense to me.
I agree. I think that's fine. I just like this having just slightly more structure than what 10th edition. We said 10th edition psychic stuff always felt like an afterthought. Here it actually feels like this is a piece of the game. Psychic things are a piece of the game. Here's how it works for orcs. It could work this way for other armies. We won't know until we see more codexes. But it is kind of a, maybe a peek at things to come. We also get a couple of move types that are added that are not in the core rules exactly. We have a pulse jet move, which I believe is limited to Wazdaka. I think he's the only unit I saw.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. Which is basically, it's an assault move, sort of. It does prevent you from declaring a charge or starting an action. It does not care about his movement stat. It is, you make a pulse roll of D6, add that to 18. That is the maximum movement range. And he basically has effectively mobile. He can move through everything. Ignoring all vertical and horizontal distances, moving through all types of model, move through all types of terrain. He just has to end unengaged, and he's -1 to be hit because he's moving so fast. And then we also get the assault disembark move, which you can, if you were embarked on a transport that is on the battlefield, you did not embark this phase, and it has not made an advance or fallback move. You can set up 3 inches. So we will find out what it's the Gorkanaut. The Gorkanaut and Morkanaut have. So in the movement phase, when this unit ends a normal move, units embarked within this unit can make an assault disembark move. So you've got a couple extra movement types for a couple of cases, but they've put them here at the beginning, arranged in the same way as all the other movement rules are. So it's one place to reference it, and it is consistent with all other movement rules, which just, I think, gets rid of any ambiguity. It's just, they've been trying to make sure that the game is as clearly spelled out as it can be. This is just another step in doing that. Like, if this unit acts in an unusual way, we can have it all clearly spelled out and referenced in this one place. So yeah, that's cool. As mentioned on Warhammer Community, there are 15 detachments in this book. Most of them are 1 page. In fact, only one of them is 2 pages, and that is the War Horde, which just says orcs melee attacks have sustained hits 1 for all the orcs in the army. This one is not that far off from the previous War Horde. Is pretty much the same thing. Not going to get into all the stratagems, but this is also the only detachment that has 6. But this is your all-comers detachment. This is good at everything. This is good for all your orc stuff. I'm gonna guess this is a 3-pointer.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Yeah. We've got the Green Tide, which is boys and infantry. Boys units have sustained hits 1, so you still have that from the Orc Horde. It is limited to boys. And then if a friendly Orcs infantry unit made a charge move, their melee attacks have lethal hits against non-monsters and vehicles. And that is the first time here that we have seen that particular notation in the book. And we will see that a lot.
Yes.
A lot. Especially lethal hits, non-monster or vehicle. Like that one in particular. But we're definitely going to see a lot of this. They have this rule against this unit type, or not against anything that's not this unit type.
Yeah, a lot of these detachments, you're going to see the Orcs used to have a lot of rules that were like, in this situation or against these units, like reroll ones to hit. And they've replaced a lot of that with just sustained hits 1.
Which is way better because it maybe I don't know mathematically if it's better, but it's better for the game because they're trying to actively cut down the number of rerolls in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I think it maths out to about the same. And really, you think about it, 1 in 6 chance you're gonna end up rolling another die. So, like, I don't know that it really saves any time versus the rerolls.
You won't end up you won't roll another die. It'll just be an automatic hit. So,
or no, yeah, that's right. You just get, that's right.
Yeah. So, and then you're speed rolling you're fast rolling all your to wound. So yeah, it's definitely better than scooping up anything that, like where are all my ones, pick those up, reroll those.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're right.
Especially with as many melee attacks as Orcs roll. Anything that can streamline that is good. Now, that's not to say that there aren't anything that have rerolls here. There's not nearly as many of them that are just automatic. For example, on the next detachment, Bully Boys, which is for Mega Knobs and Knobs, their units, their melee attacks are sustained hits 1. This one is also just a little 1-pager. But they do have a stratagem called Arm to the Teeth in your shooting phase or fight phase when a Mega Knobs or Knobs unit is selected to attack. Their units' attacks can re-roll hit rolls of 1, and if they're riled up, re-roll all hit rolls. So there are still ways to get some re-rolls, but you won't see it as nearly as much as like a detachment ability or even an upgrade.
I think moving the rules to where like you just kind of get extra hits to the all the time rule, and then putting sometimes you get rerolls, making that I have to spend a limited resource and use it just in a specific situation. I think that makes sense.
I think that's better design. We saw way too much rerolling in 10th edition. So yeah, not getting rid of them, but making them something where you have to spend a resource at the time to do it once. That is much better.
Yeah.
We've got the Runt Swarm, which is your Gretchen detachment. Again, just another 1-pager. Your Gretchen are battle line, and if your Grots advance or fall back, they can still start actions.
Yeah.
So,
which I think there's some cool space in here to run like a Gretchen heavy army, especially assuming that this is probably just like kind of a 1 or 2 point, detachment. You combine that with the Dread Mob, with the Killicans and mech guns and stuff like that. You could have a fun, like very Gretchen centric army that's not going to just suck because it's just Gretchen.
Right. The army building here, I think one of the side effects we're going to see from this is rather than having this, like these big detachments that are, they affect a couple of things, but you're kind of stuck with that, is it's going to be very modular, and it's going to allow you to build the exact kind of army you want. And yes, it does give you the tools to try to take an all good stuff army, and like, what are the hot choices? I will take the detachments for those. Yeah. But if you are wanting to make something more individually tailored, that is definitely an option here.
Yeah.
And yeah, like the Runt Swarm still has some classic stuff. Like Infested War Zone, you can return a unit of Gretchen for 2 command points. back at starting strength, which could be up to 20 grots. So, I mean,
yeah. Now, I said the army probably won't suck. I didn't say it would be good. There's a difference. But,
yeah, there's a difference.
But still, it could still be a really fun, very thematic army, which would just be great.
Right. We've got the Shoota Boys. Friendly orc infantry units' range attacks have assault, and when they're riled up, they get plus 3 inches of range. This one's probably going to be a 2 because that's a lot of units that will be affected by that. That would be my guess, is that's going to be 2 detachment points. And the first super hazardous we've ever seen.
Yep.
One of the enhancements, super glowy thing. The mech who cobbled together this strange dock accelerator isn't sure exactly what it does, and it glows weirdly, but its new owner proudly carries it into battle, eager to know what its big switch will do this time. Orcs infantry model, excluding Weird Boys, the model's ranged attacks have anti-infantry 4-up devastating wounds, so they make it a combi weapon, like what a current combi weapon would be, but also super hazardous. Every time you shoot it, make 2 hazard rolls for that unit for each super hazardous weapon you select. And considering hazardous is already bad enough for orcs.
Yeah, this is, I mean, it's something.
It sure is something. But no, that, again, love the character there on that one. We've got the Tactical Brigade, which is not, I think it's closer to what it is in the current faction pack, in that it is not about orders, it is about commandos and storm boys.
Yeah, it is. I kind of glanced over it. It's pretty similar. I don't think they've changed much between it and the version that's in the recent version in faction pack. Right.
Yeah. So these are your tactical orcs, your sneaky or jetpack, your stern and ordered and drilled orcs, because young rebellious orcs get, rather than wild, they get very, very conservative and orderly. But they also still strap giant rockets to their back and hope it gets them to the battle. So they're still orcs.
they're still orcs. Yes.
We've got the Rekka's detachment, which is for your Breakaboys, Flash Gits, and Tank Busters. When they are selected to shoot, if any of the following apply, they can reroll hits of 1. So we do still have some rerolls, but it's specifically at units on either they are on an objective or they're targeting something on an objective, which is something we've seen in the past kind of scattered about. So now we have a detachment that specifically gives that.
Yep.
But again, also to a very limited set of units. The Big Hunt, this is your Beast Snagga detachment. This one's probably going to be a 2. Friendly Beast Snagga units that attack a monster or vehicle unit have +1 AP. And when you look at what they're equipped with and what their characters do, that will be good because a lot of their stuff is geared to kill monsters and vehicles. So it's on brand for them.
Yeah.
We've got Madcap mechs. In your shooting phase, when all of a friendly Big Mech, Mecha Guns, Morkanaut, or Wazbomb Blastojet, a very specific set of units, ranged attacks target a single enemy, roll a d6. There's 1, that's weird, the target unit, not your unit, the target unit has a 4-up invulnerable save until your unit has shot. Hop Splat on a 2 to 3. Select 1 other enemy unit within 3 inches of the target. That unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. 4 Seekers. These attacks are +1 to hit. 5 Lifted. The target unit has fly and cannot have the benefit of cover until your unit has shot. Or Runtified. The target unit has -1 toughness until your unit has shot.
Yeah, it is interesting. And I'll say, because especially with specifically the Big Mac, ends up giving the unit it's with ignores cover anyway, so 5 doesn't really do a whole lot.
No.
unless it's the mech guns or the Morkanaut or the Blastojet. So
yeah. Well, also Big Mech also applies to the Big Mech Dockerig and the Big Mech with shock attack gun. So
yeah,
There's definitely still some crazy, some decent guns there. And in fact, there's the temperamental shaka, which you can only give to a big mech with a shock attack gun. When they're selected to shoot, you roll a d6. This is very much the most random detachment probably in the army. When they're selected to shoot, roll a d6. On a 1, the model shock attack gun weapon has torrent, so all their attacks automatically hit, and the shock attack gun is not a bad gun. When this unit has shot, the model is destroyed.
So basically they blow themselves up, but their gun itself actually gives the damage out to who they're shooting at.
Right. They definitely go out in a blaze of glory. And then on a 2 to 5, the shock attack gun has 1 extra attack, and on a 6, it gets sustained hits too. Okay, that's not bad. None of that's bad except for the torrent and then dead.
Right. I mean, I do find that interesting though, because it's like it gives it torrent, but it doesn't change the range of the shock attack gun. Shock attack gun is still 60 inches.
Right. Yeah. It's just torrent just means it doesn't miss.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't have to roll the hit.
Yeah. Which for an orc is fantastic.
Yep.
Let's see. We've got while we're in madcap mechanical territory, there's the dread mob, which is actually still relatively similar to the old dread mob in that there's a button to press. Although the abilities are very different. It used to be sustained hits, lethal hits, or improve AP by 2. It is now +1 attack, +2 strength, or +1 AP.
Yeah. And then there's still a hazard roll. So
there's a hazard roll, but it's different because in the past it was like all your weapons became hazardous, which meant if you did a tridap button on a Stompa, that was a lot of hazardous checks because that thing had lots of guns.
Yeah.
Now it is just 1, so it's not nearly as bad. However, you can no longer use tridap button on a Stompa because it specifically says Titanic Orc Walkers can't do it.
Yeah.
Which I think might cut out. Yes, it does cut out the Gorkanaut and Morkanauts. So it is only for Def Dreads and Killicans.
Yeah.
But I think that's fine. They already have some other things available.
Actually, is the Docker rig? The Docker rig's also a walker, right?
Big Mech Docker rig. Yeah, it's a walker.
Yeah.
So that one can still have access to the Dread Mob as well. We've got the Blitz Brigade, which is your wagon detachment. I think, again, this was one of the new ones where your wagons can reroll charge rolls and they auto-advance 6.
Yeah, which is interesting. There actually was in the faction pack a version of this too, but it actually kind of like buffed boys coming out of wagons instead of actually buffing the wagons themselves.
Right.
So kind of interesting.
Because when you got out, you could reroll advance and charge rolls, and that was also a kind of a standard detachment with like six stratagems and everything. Whereas this is a 1-pager with 3 stratagems and a couple of upgrades for wagons. So it's kind of similar, but it works very differently. We've got the Cult of Speed. We know that's most likely a 1-pointer because we had a triple Cult of Speed Blitz Brigade Flyboys army featured. Yeah. This one is friendly war bikers have battle line, and when a friendly Speed Freaks unit is selected to make an advance or fallback move, their range attacks have assault, and they can still charge.
I'm kind of excited, actually, because I have a lot of the old... I want to buy some of the new Warbiker kit coming out, but I have a lot of the old Warbiker kits. And so I think I can make good use of this one.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Warbikers having battle line. Yeah, you'll be able to get a lot of use out of this. Also, we'll see. There's been a little bit of change to how many units Speed Freaks have access to, but we will get there when we get there.
Yeah.
Flyboys. We have an aircraft detachment, which is a thing I did not expect.
Neither did I.
I think since they've kind of changed the rules on aircraft, they've been trying to find ways to make them useful and fit in. And I mean, all the Ork aircraft just jump ahead a little bit, they're all like the current aircraft rules. They have no movement. They just deep strike in and then do their thing and then leave at the end of your opponent's turn. So that is, still the case here. But as part of the detachment, friendly Ork aircraft do not count towards the combined points values of your strategic reserves. So you can have aircraft and other things in deep strike without one cutting out the other. And then when a friendly Orks aircraft or Defcopters unit is riled up, the unit's range attacks have +1 to hit. So also applies to Defcopters. So that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I can see this. Again, this is one of those ones that this was in that 3 detachment sample list, right?
Right.
So again, we're theorizing that this is a 1. So if you want to take this and just have better Defcopters, sure.
Yep. And also, this has an upgrade that makes one of your aircraft a character. There's a Flyboss enhancement upgrade. This unit gains character, and when this unit ends an ingress move, each friendly Orks aircraft or Defcopter unit within 6 inches of this unit is riled up until the start of your next turn. Cool. That's something we haven't really had, especially in the Ork. I mean, there have been, I think Flyboss has been a thing in the past, but it hasn't been a thing for a long while. So
yeah.
So that is cool. Speaking of bosses, we have the Brute Bosses detachment. This one is a War Boss detachment. When a friendly War Boss model is destroyed, if this unit has not been selected to fight this phase, roll d6 with +1 to roll. If your unit is riled up, they get a 3-up fight on death.
Yeah, which that's actually kind of neat, I think. And I mean, you can take multiple War Bosses in an army, and so you could actually get, I think, a decent amount of value out of this, even if it's just, having your War Bosses like fight on death.
Yeah. Also a detachment that has no stratagems, but instead 6 enhancements. Now, granted, you can still only use 3, but you have lots of options.
Yeah.
Including at least 1 weapon, the Gobshot Thunderbuss, which has lethal hits against non-monsters or vehicles and rapid fire 6 with 6 attacks hitting on 4s, strength 7, AP -2, 2 damage. So not a bad little weapon upgrade.
Yeah.
And then our last detachment is the Whir Band, which is their Psyker detachment. And this one also gives us a little bit of a peek into more of the psychic rules and how this works. So their rule is Powers of Dawa. Friendly Ork Psyker models' psychic attacks have +1 strength and +1 strength for every 5 models in the unit or embarked within this model for like the kill rig that has the Whir Boy on it.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, friendly Ork Psyker models have the following psychic abilities. Roar of Mork, Psychic level 1. In your movement phase, if this unit is not battle shocked, you can make a psychic roll for this unit by rolling 1d6. If you do, on a 1, the unit is battle shocked. And select 1 unit, excluding monsters or vehicle units within 12 inches. The enemy unit makes a battle shock roll with -1 from that battle shock roll for every 10 models in this unit. So they could be up to like a -2.
Right, which is a thing you get even if you roll the 1.
Right. You just end up being battle shocked because of it. So that's like the cost of failure.
Right.
And then Visions of Violence at the start of the fight phase, if this unit is not battle shocked. So if they're battle shocked, they cannot roll this. That's the other thing on both of these.
True.
You can make a psychic roll for this unit by rolling 1d6. If you do, on a 1, this unit is battle shocked. This unit has fights first.
Which is pretty nice. That's something, honestly, that, aside from charging gave you fights first, like, Orks didn't have that.
Right. And then your enhancements here, 2 of them are psychic powers, DeCrunch and Edbanger, which are a couple of classics.
Yeah.
Come back. And then Warphead, Ork Psyker model only. This model has Psyker level 2, has Deadly Demise D6, which is very appropriate for an Ork weird boy, and can reroll psychic rolls. So we have psychic roll as an official rule mentioned here. I'm trying to They do mention psychic abilities in the core rules, but I don't think they've ever mentioned psychic rolls. But here, psychic rolls are like spelled out in bold, like they are a standard game rule. And I'm wondering if they're going to be added to the app as a, kind of the extended version of the rules.
Yeah, I mean, I could see basically that same whole section of the unstable energies with psychic levels and stuff.
Right.
I could see that being added into like the core rules, at least on the app.
Yeah. But yeah, like, so what we're seeing here is like psychic. I kind of like the idea of psychic powers being, you can't do them if you're battle shocked.
Yeah.
And it's a psychic roll that you do that could battle shock you if you fail. And it means armies that cause battle shock have theoretically, assuming this carries throughout the edition for other armies, that being able to battle shock someone, it could be kind of a form of psychic defense. And it would make things like the Tyranids, Shadow and the Warp, where it's like, hey, once per game, try to battle shock everybody.
Yeah.
Like that
you can just remove that word try.
Only in your case, Dennis. Everyone else passes. I don't know what your problem is. But yeah, that is 15 detachments, all with and not cookie cutter. Because like I said, some of these are all about enhancements. Some of them have one stratagem. Some of them have three. A lot of them have 3 stratagems. We've only got one that has 6. And some of them are very dialed into just like 1 or 2 units. Some of them are a bit wider in scope. Unfortunately, again, I can't tell you exactly how many points each of them are, but we have some rough guesses.
Yeah. And I will like rewind a little bit back to the Green Tide detachment. And if anybody remembers, there used to be a time back when Orc boys could take an upgrade that gave them a 4+ armor save.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the Ard boys. Well, that Green Tide, that's one of those upgrades you can take. I mean, the upgrades, the way those work, you can add those to like 3 different units, right?
Yep.
So 3 units of 4+ armor save boys. Sounds kind of nice. I do wonder how many points that's going to cost, because that one surely will cost points.
Oh yeah, and you have to pay even though you can use that, it counts as one enhancement, but you still have to pay the points for every instance of it. So right. It'll probably add up pretty quickly.
Yes. Yeah, it'll probably be one cost for 10 boys and then another cost for 20 boys.
I could definitely see it, and possibly it could even stair step up the more times you use it too.
True. Yeah. I could see that too.
Yep. And that's not the only, like, we see other upgrades like that. You mentioned using grots to clear minefields. Minefield detail is an enhancement for the for Gretchen, which it's an upgrade, so you can have up to 3 units of Gretchen with Scout 6 inches. So, or the Rekka's unit has access to like Flash Gits can take Supa Snaz Daka, which gives them rapid fire 1. So like, yeah, they've scattered upgrades throughout, so they're you're not just tied to characters for your upgrades where it's appropriate. You can put them on other units, so they're kind of using all the tools in the box so far that they've shown off.
Yeah.
So that takes us through everything but the actual data sheets, and we will get to those. But first off, we've got sponsors, and so we're going to take a break for sponsor identification. But if you want to help support the show and you're not such a fan of having ads, there's 3 great ways you can help support us. First off is our Patreon. We are at patreon.com/preferred enemies. And being a member of the Preferred Enemies, Preferred Frenemies, gives you a number of bonuses. First off, it gives you a ad-free version of the episode feed. So if you no ads before, middle, or after the show. Second, it gives you access to our Discord, which is home to a wonderful community of players, and we would love to have you as part of that community. Third, it gets you access to any of our game materials that we've made. As I mentioned in the past, we're going to be working on an 11th edition update of the old Urban Conquest set. So all those things are available if you join our Patreon, and you already have access to all our episodes. We don't lock any of them behind a paywall, but if you want to help support us, basically it's an online tip jar, and it's only $1 a month, and it may not seem like much, but enough people put in $1, it adds up, and it really has helped out over the years, and it still continues to help out now. So we really do appreciate that. Second is our merch store. We are at preferred. Second is our merch store at preferredenemies.com/merch. And there you can buy shirts, hats, stickers, mugs, all with various Preferred Enemies logos, designs, etc. So if you want to help rep the show out in public with Preferred Enemies merch, we'd love to see that out there. So again, that is preferredenemies.com/merch. Third is YouTube. We do have a YouTube channel where we post the podcast up there as well, usually a few days after, although I'm going to try to get this one out the same day as the audio release just because it's very timely. But if you go there and do the standard like, subscribe, ring the bell, comment and interact, help us with the algorithm to get the show out in front of even more people. So again, 3 great ways to support the show, but we do have sponsors for everyone else. So we're going to go ahead and take a break. And when we come back, we'll be digging into the data sheets in the new Codex Orks. See you in a bit. And we're back, and that means it's time to continue with our look at the brand new Ork Codex, with getting into the data sheets. Also, real quick, something I noticed over break, I was kind of looking at the existing faction pack again. The new Blitz Brigade is very similar, not exactly the same, but very similar to the Roland Def detachment that they added. Like, basically has the same rules as the Roland Def detachment,
right.
But then like slightly different enhancements and such. So it's kind of like they shoved the Blitz Brigade and Roland Def together, the 2 wagon detachments into 1 wagon detachment. Which that's the other thing I've noticed about this. I don't think now maybe down the road as they add more detachments, because they will, but I'm not seeing too many here that would overlap, like where they'd have to have a keyword that would prevent you from using 2 of them together.
Yeah, I don't think so. Maybe like brute bosses and bully boys, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But we won't know until we see the point stock, because that's where all that would be. Anyway, so let's get into it. And what better way to get started than with the big boy himself, the biggest boss?
Well, do we want to do the pour one out?
Oh, yeah.
We should probably start with that, because they're not there.
Yeah. Pour one out, definitely, for the Burnas and Ludas.
Yep.
They did not make it.
Right. And the solo Werboy is gone.
Yes. He is forever trapped in his kill rig, never to be seen again, unless you want to run him as a weird boy.
Yep. And then we also have a case where all of those war buggies that they released, with the exception of the Rocketruck Squig buggy, which is still fun to say, it is its own data sheet, but then all the other ones, Shock Junk Dragsta, Custom, Boosta, Blasta, Megatrack, Scrapjet, Boom Dacus Nazwagon, all of those have basically been consolidated into a War Buggies data sheet.
So, Richard, I'll stop you there for a minute. I'm sad about this, because if I got into Orks, the things I liked was like Weird Boys, mechs, and all the race cars.
Yeah.
And with all the race cars, just one data sheet now. It's like...
You can still... Okay, so this is jumping ahead a little bit. You can still use all the race cars. A lot of them had very similar weaponry, so they kind of had similar profiles anyway. They do give you an option to change the main gun between what would have been on like one specific buggy and the others. So it's still kind of there. And they give you the ability to run more of them than you could. Although by making it one data sheet, they also toned it down so you can't go nuts. Yeah. Because there were people who were doing oops all buggies for a while. And this was the way to tone that down.
Speed freaks, yeah. But I'll just say the good part about this is, well, now I have less temptation to get into Orks because I don't need another army.
But yeah, and yeah, so the models you can still get use out of just as a war buggy. I'm not super upset. I didn't really use a lot of them anyway. I pretty much just have one of each of them. And so if I make a Speed Freaks army, I could probably still just only kind of include one of each anyway. So
right.
And then we've got the new data sheets.
Yep.
We've got the Nazdrag and Wazdaka.
Wait. Well, didn't we lose one other one?
What else did we lose?
He got rolled into a blur.
Yeah. I mean, he technically wasn't his own data sheet in the last version, but he was part of another one. We'll get there in a second.
Yeah.
Okay. But we got our new data sheets of Nazdrag, Wazdaka, the Big Mech Daka Rig, the Banner Knob, the Big Boss, the War Tracks, and then the Runt Herd gets split off as to a character away from the Gretchen. So you can just take Gretchen by themselves, but it's probably a good idea to take the Runt Herd anyway if you're taking Gretchen. And then there is the Battle Wagon variant, the gun wagon that we had mentioned earlier.
So a little bit of shifting around. Some things go away. We get some new stuff. It kind of works out in a wash, I think, to roughly the same number of data sheets, but which is fine. It's fine. But yeah, definitely, I did not expect to lose the Burnas and Ludas. Yeah. Although Ludas can basically served a very similar job as Flash Gits, so I don't mind losing them as much. Burnas, I don't really. There's no real equivalent. Although it seems like there's more access to Burnas individually. Yeah. So
that, and I'm not as surprised based on the fact that I'm pretty sure that Ludas Burnas kit is, like, at this point, like the oldest Ork kit.
Yeah, it was due.
So we may see a new one. And
that's true.
Kind of like the way the Tank Busters ended up being, like they didn't immediately throw the new one into the Codex, but then not long after the last Codex came out, we had that new Tank Busters kit come out, and so we got
Ludas Burner. Sounds like a great kill team.
Yeah, absolutely would. So yeah, that wouldn't surprise me if they came back as if that came back as a kill team and then got rolled in, future updates. So
yeah, and kind of a general note over like a number of the data sheets. Most all the stuff that has big shooters or kind of like the big Daka guns, those are going to end up gaining that lethal hits non-monster / vehicle.
Yeah. Like I mentioned, we see that we're going to see that a lot. It is all over this book. So let's get into it. As I mentioned, we are going to get into it with the biggest boss, the biggest boy, Gazgul Mag Thraka, the Grand Prophet of the Wa. And he's already been revealed on Warhammer Community, so this is probably not a surprise for anybody, but he's a big boy. He's a big, beefy boy. He was always a big, beefy boy. He's a bigger, beefier boy now.
Yep. Yeah. +3 to his movement.
+4 toughness.
+4, yeah. And +6 wounds.
Yep.
Of course, the big trade-off to this big beefiness is he used to be a leader that you could put in with like Mega Knobs or boys. That is gone now.
Yeah.
So he is no longer a leader. He is now that kind that can gain lone op near an Ork infantry unit.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, he's basically Primarch level, as he should be.
Yeah.
Let's be fair. Like that's kind of where he should be is that level. He also no longer has Makari as a model with its own stat line. Makari no longer provides him with a 2-up invulnerable save, which thank goodness, because oh my god, he did not need that.
Yeah, it's true.
But Makari is still around, sort of. He is now a token.
Yeah.
Because Makari, he has the rule Makari Hoistat Bana. In your movement phase, you can select another number of friendly Ork units, this is once per game, equal to or less than the current battle round number. Those units are riled up until the start of your next turn. So this is basically equivalent to like calling an additional WA, but for a select subset of units.
Yeah.
His weapon profiles are also pretty impressive. Yes, if he tries to aim Mork's Roar, his gigantic 4-barreled shooter, it is 12 attacks, hitting on 5, strength 6, AP -1, 1 damage at 36 inches range, and also with the lethal hits non-monster vehicle and rapid fire 4. However, if he's close enough to you, then at 9 inches, it's a close quarters weapon, which means he can fire it even if he's engaged. And then it's just torrent. It just hits. It's so many bullets. It just hits. 2d6 plus 2 attacks. Strength 6 AP -1, 1 damage. That is a really cool idea of like just the bullet hose. That is just so many bullets that you can't miss. But you're not here for Gaz's shooting. You're here for Gaz's melee, and oh boy.
Yeah.
Something else we're going to see a lot in this book is Cleave. Cleave is a new
2.
Cleave 2 in this case. His Gork's Claw normally is 7 attacks, hitting on 2s, strength 14, AP -3, 4 damage. It also has Cleave 2, which means for every 5 models in the enemy unit, he gains 2 attacks. So against a squad of 10, that's 4 additional attacks, so 11 attacks. He also has Devastating Wounds, so it's going to really ruin someone's day. He did not have Devastating Wounds before. But he also had a strike or a sweep, and that is something we are going to see in this codex, in that we will not see sweeping attacks on things that used to have sweeping attacks. Instead, they have Cleave. That is the replacement for having sweeping attacks.
Yeah.
Which also means not only do they get more, for going into hordes, they, probably end up more attacks overall in some cases than they would have had with the sweeping attack, but it's not a powered down version. He's hitting all he goes into a unit of 10, he's hitting all of them like a truck.
Yeah, I think mathematically it maybe ends up being a few less attacks, but that's fine with me when they're like the full strength.
Right.
Rob, yeah. I don't think that's a fair statement. I think he hits harder than the truck does.
That's true. He would kill a truck if he ran into it. But on top of that, he has an extra attack, his Adamantine Edbutt, this is new. He did not have that before. Yeah. 1 attack, hitting on 2s, strength 14, -2 AP, D3 plus 3 damage, devastating wounds, precision. That guy leading the unit? No, he's not.
he got his head smashed in.
Yep. And on top of all of this, all Orks units within 6 inches of him, including himself, +1 to hit, +1 to wound. So there's nothing in the game that he's not wounding on 2s.
Yeah.
No. Gaz is an absolute beast. And like right now in the game, he is currently a 235. This is why, there's no way he stays at his current point level.
No.
I'm predicting in the 300s.
If he's not, he should be at least 350, maybe 400.
I expect him to have a very considerable points jump.
Oh, yeah. He's terrifying. And so, yeah, he will definitely go up in points. I will say they've done a good job of making sure all the transports that can carry him have allowances for how many spots he fills up. So,
yeah, I think each one of him he takes 4 slots.
Yes.
As opposed to just saying he takes 4 slots, each one of him. And it's like, but he's epic.
Yes, but you never know.
And of course, he has the role. He must be your warlord.
Yes, he should. I mean, he's the Grand Prophet of the Wa. He's going to be your warlord. And also, something else he has that he did not have before, he has the explosives keyword. He did not have grenades before, so he can also throw grenades at you before he charges into you. He's terrifying. He's just absolutely horrifying. And yes, he does also have the boss rule, so if he's your warlord, he has you get an extra command point each turn, too. And he is a war boss, so he'll also benefit from the war boss detachment. So he is all things.
Yep.
Let's see. Nazdrag. We actually talked about Nazdrag an episode or 2 ago when they revealed his data sheet, where he can unbattle shock a unit and rile them up. He has deep strike. He can, if he's unengaged and somebody moves within 8 inches, he gets a reactive move. And then he has a custom blast X, which has 3 modes of fire, but unlike, let's say, Mork's Roar, we have to pick one or the other, he gets all 3 of them. So he has his shoot aversion, which is lethal hits, non-monster vehicle, rapid fire 2. He's got a Scorcha, blast 1, torrent. That's another thing. The weapons that would represent flamers, like Burnas and Scorches and things like that, are not like random number of attacks. Everyone I'm seeing is blast 1 and torrent, or blast 2 and torrent.
Yeah.
Don't know if what that says for such weapons in the future. However, I don't know if it's going to be universal, because if it's blast, that means a vehicle with flamers can't fire them in close combat.
True.
So that will be interesting to see, which does mean if you have a unit of boys and they can take a Burna as like one of their weapon options, and they are in a truck, the truck cannot use that from firing deck. So just be aware of that.
Yeah.
And then he's got the Gatler option, which is his strength 9, AP 2, or AP minus 2, 3 damage, but it's also hazardous. And then he has Cleave on his Custom Blasta X and Moonshua, his Power Claws. So again, we're seeing Cleave on a lot of stuff. And then we've got the War Boss, who is now reflected by the new multi-option kit, and thus actually has some better options than before, in the fact that his combi gun actually has options rather than being a generic combi weapon.
Yeah.
He still has access to the Power Claw and the Custom Choppa, and I think this is one of those cases where the Power Claw is really good, don't get me wrong, but the Custom Choppa having Cleave 2 actually gives it like a reason you might take it.
Yeah.
Rather than, so I like there being more than one viable weapon option.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Unfortunately, his squig, even though he can be modeled with an attack squig, there is no attack squig extra attacks on.
Yeah. Although I will say, like, he basically does have more attacks with his base weapons anyway.
So it kind of works out.
It kind of works out. Like, there are a few more attacks with his base weapon that are way stronger than what the squig's attack would have been anyway. Yeah, I'll make that trade.
Yeah. Also, he has the same intimidating motivation ability as Nazdreg, where once per battle round in your army, you can unbattle shock an orc within 6 inches and rile them up, because that is just the standard war boss thing now. The war boss in Mega Armor has the same ability.
Yep.
And then in addition, if this unit made a charge move, he has +3 attacks and +2 strength.
Yep. Which is, I think, an improvement over his other rule, where it was just during the Waw, he had +4 attacks.
Right. And because they're getting away from when you call the Waw as opposed to just riled up. So it's like, well, that doesn't make sense. We'll just make sure he always wants to be charging, which is a very orc thing to do too.
Yep.
And then he can burn an ammo runt to get +1 to hit. So I think it's interesting. And this is something we're going to see throughout the codexes. A lot of units had their rules changed. Like, their stat lines aren't wildly different. He did gain an extra toughness. He's tough 6 now.
That's pretty standard on like all of the war bosses, actually, that they gained a toughness.
But he doesn't have when he's leading a unit, they get +1 to hit, and he doesn't have the biggest and best where he gets the extra attacks during the Waw. Instead, he has the ability to rile up a unit every turn, and then he's got extra attacks on the charge, and that's kind of how he works. So a little bit more like still combat monster when he's charging, but also a little bit of a force multiplier, because he can also rile up his own unit too. So like if he's attached to a unit of boys, he can rile them up, and then the whole unit is riled up. So technically his unit could always be riled up if he wants to.
Yeah.
We got the war boss in Mega Armor, which again has that same intimidating motivation ability. And then he's also got Crushing Impetus, which is when he ends a charge move, he can do mortal wounds on a 3-up for every model he's engaged with.
Yeah. If he's leading, assumably, like I said, we don't know the leader characteristics, but assumably it's still Mega Knobs, right? It's all of the engaged Mega Knobs.
Right. Because it's models in that unit. Yeah.
Yes. So not just the war boss.
Right. We've got the Big Mech, who is really not that different stat line wise, and has access to the same weapons.
The big thing, really, honestly, that changes for him is he's got his ballistic skill on his ranged weapons is 1 better.
Yes, he's 4s instead of 5s now.
And then he has a roll that gives his unit ignores cover.
Mm-hmm. And if he's riled up, sustained hits 1.
Right.
Also, unlike all the other characters we've talked about, because they've all been war bosses, he does not have the boss ability, so he will not grant you the extra command point if he's your warlord. However, he does have the shock booster ability, which he did have before. Now, in the past, it was like when you did a move, you could re-roll advance rolls, which the army does now, so you don't need that. Yeah. But then you could move through terrain. Now he can auto advance 6. The unit can move through all types of other models, and then when they end the advance move, they make a hazard roll for each model in the unit. So you may not want to as much.
No, I don't think so. You gotta really need to do that.
Yeah. Let's see. We've got the Big Mech in Mecha Armor, who has the same Mordaka ability, ignore cover, and sustain hits 1 when riled up. This is also our first war gear ability, which on the data sheets is denoted by a gear. If this model has a custom force field, they get a 4-up invulnerable save against range attacks, which something they had access to in the past. Yeah. But now it's just spelled out a little bit more clearly that it's a war gear thing. You have to have this war gear to get this ability.
Yeah.
They also have the ability fix that armor up once per battle per unit. They can use a Grot healer to just heal 3 wounds to their unit. That's cool.
Yeah. It's actually kind of a nerf from what it was before, because fix that armor up during each of your command in each of your command phase, you could just return a bodyguard model to your unit.
Yeah. So yeah, now it is once, but it also means if, let's say, the rest of his bodyguard is dead, which, I mean, you can still heal them and bring one back, or if he's down to 2 wounds, you can heal him back.
Yeah.
As well. So it's less powerful.
But it's still good.
Yeah, still good. A little bit more flexible, but yeah, not as powerful as just will never run out of knobs and I'll never run out of mega knobs. Big Mech with shock attack gun. Again, similar stat line as before. Still has more DACA. So instead, in the past, more DACA was reroll hit rolls of 1. Now it is ignores cover, which I would argue in this edition is better than hitting on 6s.
Yep.
And then sustain hits 1 when riled up. It is still blast 1 heavy. It went up to strength 12 from strength 9, and it has consistently more attacks because it was D6 plus 1. It is D3 plus 3. You won't get to 7, but you'll never roll a 2. It's always 4 to 6.
Yeah. So I think he's more consistent. He also the damage is 1 more because it was just a D6 damage. And now it's a D6 plus 1.
And if he is ever by himself, he is a leader, but if you run him by himself, he has lone operative if he's near an Orks infantry unit other than another Big Mech with a shock attack gun.
Yep.
So he's kind of flexible there. We've got the Big Mech DACA rig, who is also a Big Mech, but instead of having more DACA, he has even more DACA because his weapons already have ignore cover. So he has just the when riled up that gets sustained hits 1. If he's targeting a non-monster vehicle, he's got +6 attacks with the Blitz Cannon, which is basically a super shooter. It's got the same lethal hits non-monster vehicle, and it already has 8 attacks, so 14 attacks against anything that's not a monster vehicle that's pretty good.
Yep.
You've got your standard mech, which has the weaker version of more DACA. He's got custom DACA, and he's a support character, so he can't run by himself, but he can attach to a squad. But his unit's range attacks have ignore cover, and then he's got the clever know what's, which allows you to heal anything that's not aircraft or Titanic D3 wounds and give them +1 to hit. That one's gonna make Stompa players sad because they loved having somebody fix up that Stompa and give it +1 to hit.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. We've got a Deathkiller Wartrike, who is also still a war boss, has the war boss keyword, does still have deboss ability. His Snag-a-Claw is also a ranged weapon now, in addition to being a melee weapon.
I think actually it was before, I want to say.
No, it was the Killajet. Like, he had the boomsticks, which he still has. And then he had the Killajet from his bike, which could either be a melt-a-gun or a flamer. So basically, it's the chain launcher on the Snag-a-Claw is actually a ranged weapon now.
Right. I think maybe like the original data sheet for him had that as a ranged weapon, because I do distinctly remember it being like, okay, the claw has both at one point did have both a ranged weapon and a melee weapon, but yeah, you're right. This most recent codex, it's not that way.
Right. But instead, yeah, it's now he's got the ranged weapon portion of it, which is precision. It's a one-shot precision, so he can try to pick out characters with it. And then his melee weapons, the Snag-a-Claw is Cleave 2, and it's pretty standard power claw, strength 7, AP -2, 2 damage. But then his bike, the Killajets, are now extra attack melee weapons, which he can either take the Flamer, which instead of being Blast 1 is Cleave 1, and the Melta 1 is now, instead of being a strength 9, AP -4, D6 Melta weapon, it's now strength 10, AP -3, D6 +2. So there's no Melta. It's just the extra damage just worked in. And it's strength 10, which makes it good.
Yeah. And then he has a Speed Freaks specific version of the intimidating morale.
Right.
rule.
Yeah. Yeah. Same thing. No battle shock, undo battle shock, rile them up, but only for Speed Freaks. So
Yep.
very, very focused. But like if you're taking a Speed Freaks army, he is the perfect war boss to throw in. Not to be left out, the Beast Snagas also have a war boss with the Beast Boss, who has Keep Huntin', which is the same ability just for Beast Snaggy units.
Yep.
And then again, he's got a Shooter, lethal hits against non-monsters or vehicles, but he has a Beast Snag-a-Claw and Beast Choppa, which used to be two different weapons.
Yes.
And they were both anti-monster 4, anti-vehicle 4. There was never really that much of a reason other than the better weapon skill on the Beast Choppa to use the Beast Choppa.
It was the difference in the strength and the number of it. Like you had the claw had like 4 attacks and was like strength 10. And then the Beast Choppa was 6 attacks and like strength 6.
Yeah. Against a monster vehicle, the strength doesn't really matter. You're still wounding on 4s.
True.
Yeah. Now it doesn't have the anti-vehicle or anti-monster, but it's always 6 attacks. It always hits on 2s. It's strength 12, and it has sustained hits 2 against monsters and vehicles.
Yeah. So it basically is the best of both of those. Like, it's even better, really, than both of those individual profiles combined.
Yeah, I mean, at strength 12, you're wounding most vehicles on 3s. You're wounding knights on 3s or 4s. Like, you're never wounding anything on less than a 4, pretty much. He doesn't have the ability to get devastating wounds on the charge, though, which, thank goodness, that's enough. He's also one of the first units we've seen with Feel No Pain. There's not a lot of that in this codex. There's a lot less than there was before.
That is true. The basically the Beast Snagas generally retain that's kind of always kind of been their thing ever since they were introduced, was they had the 6-up Feel No Pain. And for the most part, most of them have kept that.
And I think that works. I kind of like that being their flavor is good. Like, that's fine. Keep it localized to that particular thing. That works nicely.
Yeah.
We've got Zagrod Wartsnaga, the best runt herd ever.
Yep.
With his ridiculous gun, the Squig Stoppa, which was a pistol. Now, I say ridiculous, you'd say, well, it's only strength 4. But it's also anti-vehicle, anti-monster 4-up, close quarters, devastating wounds to monsters and vehicles. Now, granted, it only does 1 damage. It's 1 shot, so it's not that crazy, but it's still silly that it has that many rules. else.
Yeah.
But more importantly, any unit of Grots he's attached to has super runts. It's always been kind of his thing, but in this one, it is their melee weapons are +1 attack, weapon skill, and strength, and specifically these scavenge shivs, so it doesn't affect his weapons, just the one on the Grots. But also, they're always riled up.
Yep.
So he's cool. I like him.
Yeah.
We've got Wazdaka Gutsmech, who makes his Codex appearance finally, after being merely a faction pack unit.
Yeah.
His stat line is pretty much the same. He doesn't have a Fix-It Grot anymore.
Yeah.
But also, he has the kind of thing that a lot of the Primarch-style characters have, where he's got like 3 abilities and you choose one of them every command phase. And that's his Throttle Rocket Shaka Engine, which gives him either the ability to advance or fall back and still charge, the ability to go back in strategic reserves if he's unengaged, or the ability, if he's unengaged, to make a pulse jet move, which we talked about earlier in the show, where you can just move like 18 plus D6 inches through everything.
Yeah.
And then weapon-wise, he still has the Grab-a-Draga, which is still an assault precision weapon, pretty much the same stat line. The Psycho Gatler is gained lethal hits against non-monsters and vehicles, again, like all the shooters have. And then, otherwise, he still has, his Speeding Bulk and Flaming Attacks, and now has Cleave 1. He still has Fix-Its Wrench for extra attacks, and the Grab-a-Draca is still Lance, but also gained Cleave 2. So it went from being 6 attacks to 6 attacks, Cleave 2, and Lance. Just more attacks overall against larger units. So, I mean, I think not being able to auto heal has toned him down, but he's got so much ridiculous movement ability, which feels very on brand for him.
Yeah. No, he's still good.
Also point out, he is an auto war boss. He does not have the boss ability, and he is also still lone op. He rolls alone. He is just doing his own thing.
Yep.
Then we get into our Beast Snaga rider characters. We've got Mozgrog Scragbad and the Beast Boss on Squigosaur.
They both gained a toughness and a couple of wounds.
But in exchange, they lost leader. They do not lead units. They are lone op when they're within 3 inches of Beast Snagas.
Yep.
And then Mozgrog still has a fight on death, but it went from a 4-up to a 2-up. So he's just about guaranteed to fight on death. But that also, his old fight on death was for the entire unit. So just being on him, I think, makes a 2-up reasonable. Like on a character alone, 2-up is reasonable. 2-up is fine. And then, his Thump Gun is now anti-monster vehicle 4-up. The Gut Ripper is no longer anti-monster, anti-vehicle. It is instead, he's got a standard mode, which is Cleave 1. And when I say standard, that goes against anything. But we also see a new keyword that we haven't seen really much before, and that is Hunter. Hunter is a new keyword that applies as an alternate mode on some weapons. You don't see it a lot, but it is here in a few spaces. And it says Hunter, Monster, Vehicle. You can only use this mode against monsters or vehicles. And in the Hunter mode for Gut Ripper has lethal hits instead of Cleave 1, and it is also Strength 12 and D6 plus 1 damage. So his weapon has a special mode just for fighting big things, but it can only be used for big things. So this is almost like a strike or sweep, but you can't strike against, say, like an infantry character. You can only use it against something really big. So I kind of think that's cool. That's an interesting limitation to have on that. Big Chompa's Jaws no longer have devastating wounds, but they do have anti-monster, anti-vehicle 3-up. So he is meant to kill monsters and vehicles. He rerolls wound rolls against monsters and vehicles. That is what he do. He is good at it.
Yeah, it's almost like they figured out that devastating wounds is something that should be given out very sparingly.
Yeah, it's funny how that works. Like mortal wounds should be for very special occasions. And of course, they had the problem of, well, devastating wounds aren't like mortal wounds because they don't spill over. Yeah, let's just keep that as limited as we can. There's plenty of ways to get around that. And then the Beast Boss on Squigosaur, just the generic Beast Boss, Also, no longer a leader, just lone op. He's got the boss. He has the Beast Snagger version of. He's got the keep hunting ability to rile up a unit and make him no longer battle shocked. And he has a 6-inch aura of +1 on the +1 to charge rolls, which he had before for the unit he was leading. He can now technically give it to more units because it's an aura.
Yeah.
But he no longer has the free heroic intervention, which I think is fine. His Beast Choppa is very similar to Gut Rippa. It's just the standard version is a little bit weaker. The Hunter version does a little less damage, D6 instead of D6 +1, but otherwise very similar. The Squigosaur Jaws are very similar to Big Chomba's, just slightly less damage. So he is basically a slightly weaker, but actual like war boss version of Mozgrog. So
yeah.
We've got the Weird Boy, who has the Unstable Energies ability, which just means he's a psyker. He does psychic things.
Yep. And then he also has, it is kind of strange to me that they have as the army role Unstable Energies, but then they also kind of state again under his abilities, Wa Energy, Psyker level 1.
Yeah.
This model has psychic powers listed over there.
Right. I really wish they had just made Psyker level X a core ability. Just a standard rule.
Yeah.
Because, then he has psychic abilities spelled out on the datasheet. Love seeing that. And yes, they all kind of work the same way. If the unit's not battle shocked, you make a psychic roll. If you roll a 1, the unit is battle shocked. And I do like, as you mentioned earlier, if you roll a 1, the power still goes off. They just happen to be battle shocked in addition.
Yeah.
So the jump puts the unit in strategic reserves and gives them deep strike.
Yep.
And Warpath lets the unit reroll wound rolls of 1 when selected to fight. And the unit has psychic attacks for cases where that would matter.
Yeah. Which psychic attacks ignore modifiers, right?
That's true. Yeah. So
that would be, I think, an advantage to that instance.
Right. Yeah. Depending on like what you're fighting, if they have any sort of penalty that they apply to being hit in melee. Yeah.
Yeah.
But otherwise, he's not likely to blow up or anything. He does have Power Vomit, which, well, in the past he had Edbanger as his ability, which is now from the detachment. Instead, he has Power Vomit, which is hazardous.
Right. It's way grosser sounding.
Yes.
and it's not really like it's torrent, so there's that. And it doesn't have like the old version he had like way more range.
It had more range. It was only 1 attack, but it was also precision, which yeah, this gives him more of a anti-horde weapon because it is blast 1 also. So
yeah,
and torrent because it's vomit. It should be torrent.
Yeah.
But I think the most interesting thing about him is he's new Psyker rules and he's using them fully. So that is cool. Snickrot, we've still got him around, infiltrators and stealth, and he is both a leader and has lone operative. So depending on how you want to use him. At the end of your opponent's fight phase, if each model in this unit is hidden and unengaged, they can go into strategic reserve. So first time we've seen that used in a codex. Not just being unengaged, but actually being hidden in a building. And then at the end of your opponent's movement phase, they can make an ingress move. So he has rapid ingress built in.
Yeah.
Not using it for free, just built in. So that's kind of cool.
This kind of replaces, he used to just have a once per game instantly bamf across the board ability. But now he can use it more than one time per game. But it involves, going off the board and then doing the ingress move. Yeah.
Let's see, we've got the Banner Knob, which was one of our new units from Armageddon.
Yep.
And we've already had a change.
Yes. Yeah. He, the data sheet in the Armageddon box, he was kind of impressive. Like he gave his unit a 5-up invulnerable save, and then during a WA, the unit had +1 toughness.
That's pretty good. What's he got now?
+1 to charge rolls.
Oof.
I mean, that's not bad, but
It's way different than a 5 up invulnerable and +1 toughness.
Yeah, that's way different.
Yeah.
So, although because we're talking about new format rules, he also moves from being a leader into support.
No, he was support. He was support in the faction pack. The big boss is a leader, but the banner knob's a support.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
The big boss, though, does move from leader to support. He is definitely...
Yes.
Yeah. And he went from having the +1... Hey, the banner knob stole his +1 to charge.
Yeah.
Instead, he has +1 to hit. He no longer provides sustained hits 1 to his unit. And his big choppa, actually, one of the few weapons that lost cleave. Like, there weren't many weapons that had cleave before this. This one lost cleave and instead has precision, which not bad. Precision's not a bad thing to have.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, these are like kind of changes that kind of make him feel like, oh, hey, you want an orc equivalent to a lieutenant?
Yep.
Here you go.
Yep, exactly. So, no, it makes sense. It's just, it is interesting to see that he's changed, like both of these have changed quite a bit from their faction pack versions.
Yeah.
Let's see. We've got the Pain Boy and Pain Boss. The Pain Boy still has his Erdy Syringe, which now also has devastating wounds.
Yeah, with the one attack.
Right. Yeah, the one attack.
I mean, but again, devastating wounds. So it's, of course, that'd be a weapon that has limited attacks.
And technically, the devastating wounds is his hold still and say R ability anyway. Because if he critically wounded against anything not a vehicle, he did D6 mortal wounds. And he has devastating wounds infantry. So it's the same ability. It's just been rolled into the weapon profile.
Yeah. Right.
But also, instead of offering a 5-up feel no pain, he just heals the unit 3 wounds. Yeah. Which does mean that could restore either a knob or 3 boys, I think.
Yeah.
And with his Grot Orderly, he can make that D3 +3 once per game. I think it's definitely more streamlined as far as gameplay than having a unit of 20 boys having to make feel no pains for everything. So
yeah, it is. It like mathematically, it's not as good. I'm not gonna like try and argue that, but like we also may see this guy drop in points. So
true.
Again, we'll just have to see how that goes. But I think it's fine. And I think like just streamlining things for the way a horde army plays is ultimately a good thing.
Agreed. Also, he is support instead of leader, so he can join a unit that also has like a war boss attached. So yeah, that actually works very nicely. The Pain Boss, who is also support, can only heal Beast Snaggy units. And it can be any Beast Snaggy unit within 6 inches of his unit. So yeah, that's kind of interesting.
That's interesting, although that one's limited to once per battle.
So once per battle, yeah. So once per battle, pick a unit within. So he's definitely not as good as the Pain Boy.
I mean, there's also the trade-off. He has the Hardy Bionics, which is the -1 to wound with attacks that target your unit with strength greater than your unit's toughness.
Right. So yeah, you get that kind of that transhuman effect, which depending on what he's attached with could actually be pretty handy because he can also, we don't know what he can attach to, but since there's only like one mounted Beast Snagga option, I'm going to guess it's the Squig Hog Riders. If he is attached to a mounted unit, he no longer has infantry. He gains mobile and mounted and +4 inches of movement. So basically, he can have a mount if you attach him to a mounted unit.
Right. So I suspect he can support Beast Snagga Boys and the Squig Hog Riders.
Yeah, that would be my guess. And so he can adjust based on what he's attached to, which is good. It also means he won't drag the Squig Hog Riders down.
Right, which is interesting. That is a brand new thing. The mounted version. So also would be neat for like getting some conversion work done.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Gretchen. Gretchen actually changed roles quite a bit because they used to be your command point generators. If they were on an objective, you had a 50-50 chance of generating a command point. And I have seen players struggle with that die roll all game long. Torin at Midwest Conquest, the narrative, like that went off, I think, way less often than the dice should have in that final game we were playing. But that is no longer the case. Now, Gretchen are your sticky objective guys. If you want an objective secured, you send Gretchen. Also, I thought is interesting, they actually address a Gretchen transport capacity. You can fit 2 of them in the spot of one orc. So you can slap the side of a truck and say, this baby can hold so many Gretchen.
Yep.
Yeah, I figured it's like with a runt herd and 20 Gretchen, you can still fit in a truck.
Yep.
But yeah, 20 guys. I mean, they're only OC1, but with 20 of them, that's still enough to, reliably take control of an objective and sticky it. So these are going to be your objective holders or objective capturers, I suppose. Just kind of run them around and get pieces of the board. And then you've got the runt herd, who is a support character. I'm assuming he can only join Gretchen. If this unit becomes battle shocked, if the unit contains 4 or more Gretchen models, you can roll a D3, destroy that many Gretchen, and the unit is no longer battle shocked. So he's a commissar for Gretchen.
Yep.
Then we get into boys, the classic orc unit. Stat line wise, big change here is the knob is now 3 wounds instead of 2.
Yep.
Rule wise, because Gretchen are your sticky objective, these are not. But instead, boys are your action monkeys, because being engaged does not prevent them from taking part in an action. They can start an action while engaged. And also, if they charge you, they have lethal hits.
And you no longer, like they've already talked about this in the spoiler stuff, but you don't have to pick between being shooter boys or chopper boys. They are both.
Yep. And you have combi options for the knobs. You can have up to 2 knobs for, basically it's like 1 knob at 9 boys or 2 knobs and 18 boys.
I was trying to see where, because unit composition says 1 to 2 knobs and 9 to 18 boys. And I was trying to see where the rules say that you couldn't have 9 boys and 2 knobs.
Unless it would be in the point section, because they would like...
You probably could,
That's
but once
true.
you go above 10, they probably up the points.
Yeah, you're going to pay...
Same as 20.
True. You'd probably end up paying for the other 9 boys anyway, so might as well have the knob models.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
But then the unit can have, classic boys. The knob starts with a combi Scorcha, but it can have a combi rocket or custom shooter instead. For every 10 models, you can have 1 big shooter, 1 rocket launcher, and 1 burner. So that's where you put your burner boys. You'll sprinkle them into your boys units.
Yep.
But, this is still going to be the backbone of your army. And if you're running like infantry, they're good on the charge. And yeah, being able to charge and still do actions is really good in this edition. So whatever.
But what if I want to have an army full of toys?
No, boys before toys. You know the rules.
Yes.
Let's see. And then if you're playing Beast Snaggers, you also have the Beast Snagga boys, who have a similar makeup. 1 to 2 knobs, 9 to 18 Beast Snagga boys. When they end a charge move, they get to try to make battle shock rolls onto monsters or vehicles.
Yep. Notably, they are a Beast Snagga unit that lost that 6-up feel no pain.
Which I'm wondering if they're kind of putting the 6-up feel no pain more on. Well, no, even the Squighog boys lost it. So maybe it is just on the characters.
Maybe so.
But otherwise, yeah, their stuff is mostly focused, like their thump gun is anti-monster, anti-vehicle 4-up. The Snagga boys are armed with choppers who they've got a hunter mode for monsters and vehicles, so that just is a little bit higher strength and better AP. And they've got access to a power snapper on the knob that has anti-monster vehicle 4-up. I mean, they're meant to try to take down monsters and vehicles. And in the past, they re-rolled hit rolls against monsters or vehicles. Now they just try to cause battle shock against it, which not as good maybe, but still useful considering battle shock sticks.
Yeah.
Because it's a battle shock roll at -1 or -2 if it's a 13 or more squad of Beast Snaga boys. So could be handy. Mega Knobs. Mega Knobs no longer have their 4-up feel no pain during a WA. Instead, they are +1 to hit when they're riled up.
Right. And actually, that 4-up got changed to a 5-up in one of the balance data slates. So
yeah, but I mean, they are still, stat line is pretty much the same. They're still your Terminator equivalent, more or less, and they're also all attacks coming into them are at -1 AP, which is actually pretty decent.
Yeah, that's huge. Meaning, like auto kill one, you need -5 AP.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I mean, you're still likely to on a with like a -4, but yeah, they can shrug off most small arms fires.
And technically, the -4, which would get reduced to -3, puts it at 5-up, which is most people's invuln saves.
Yeah, so they effectively have an invuln save with the -1. So yeah, they're still solid, and actually I think that makes them more survivable actually than they were before, because they only had the feel no pain during the WA. Now they always have that.
Yeah.
Knobs used to really only have special abilities when they were led by a war boss. Now, like when making a charge move, the unit can just move through models. They can't be slowed down. They're just a very solid melee unit, and at 3 wounds apiece, they are tougher than the old Knobs.
Yeah.
Just basically your elite unit. Commandos. These are the updated versions of commandos from the Kill Team box, but I think they had those in the last codex as well.
Yes.
Infiltrators and stealth, which they had before. You can make units easier to detect. Like they pick an enemy unit within 12 inches, that enemy unit has +3 inches of detection range, which means if they were hidden, they go from 15 to 18. I'm still haven't seen how often that comes up, because I know that they put some of that stuff in the faction packs for Tau, and I'm still not sure how often increasing somebody else's detection range matters.
Yeah, I think detection range on a whole is very underutilized. I think they were thinking more people would hide and use actions, and you had to use detection to fish them out. But I think a lot of people still have the mindset of killy, so once you shoot, well, detection doesn't matter.
Right. Or I'm going to get close enough where detection isn't going to matter because I'm going to try to charge you out of the building instead. So if they target hidden units, they have +1 to hit. They still have the bomb squig that can cause mortal wounds, although instead of being on a 2-up, it's on a 3-up now, so it's been toned down a little bit. Otherwise, it's the same range, 12 inches. And then tactical know what's in the declare battle formations. You can split this unit into 2, so you can combat squad them into squads of 5, so have 2 units. If you do select one of the units to have bomb squig, and one of the units will have found them. So they can't have both.
Right.
Also means that they also no longer have sneaky gets, which means they can be overwatched, and they no longer have the distraction grot.
Yeah. The Foundum basically uses that commando grot as the reminder token.
Right.
Now.
Let's see, moving on. We've got flash gets, which they got a little bit of a glow up. Because one thing, they hit on 4s now.
Yeah.
And the Snaz gun has 3 different modes. There's the classic DACA one, which gained lethal hits against non-monsters vehicles. Still has sustained hits 1. It's not heavy anymore. The +1 to hit is just rolled into it, so they can move and fire. And they have +1 AP when targeting either if they are on an objective or they're targeting something on an objective. But they also have access to a kill shot, which is strength 8, AP -2 damage, but it is hazardous. Or a Kutta, which is basically their melt-a-gun, strength 9, AP 3, D3 +2 damage, melt a 2, but also hazardous. So they can kick up the firing mode a little bit, but it risks hurting them. But as knobs, or knob equivalents, they have 3 wounds, so hazardous doesn't hurt nearly as much.
Yeah. Yeah, they get quite a bit more versatility, I think, here.
Yeah. And I think it makes up for the lack of Ludas that basically kind of rolled Luda's and Flash Gets together, because Luda's had the re-rolling hit rolls against things on objectives. In this case, they have +1 AP against things on objectives, and their detachment, if I remember right, I mean, that was the first part of the show, gives them re-rolling hit rolls of 1 against units on an objective, or if they're on an objective. So basically, they have kind of the role of both Luda's and Flash Gets rolled into 1. So got Storm Boys, which when they're selected to fight, if they made a charge move, you can use the rocket charge. They gain +1 to attack and +1 strength, and their melee attacks are hazardous, which love it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, they're your jump infantry. That's what they're going to do. They got fly, same old job. We've got Breaka Boys. These were in the faction pack as well because they were a kill team. They used to have reroll charge roll. Now they have +1 to charge with trophy hunters. They still have bomb squigs, which again go off on a 3 instead of a 2. So they're basically kind of the same, but again, their knob has 3 wounds instead of 2.
Right, and actually the base boys have 2 wounds.
Yeah, there were always 2 wounds, but now there's a knob in there that specifically has 3. Most of their weapons lost anti-vehicle, anti-monster, though. Only the Knucklebuster still has it.
Yeah.
Which actually makes them a little bit weaker, because the Tank Hunter used to have anti-monster, anti-vehicle, and devastating wounds. Now it's just devastating wounds. The Smash Hammer does have a Hunter version, which is strength 12, AP -2, 3 damage against monsters or vehicles. So they still are good. It's just that the one guy with the Tank Hammer isn't any better against monsters or vehicles, but they're just more dangerous against everything. We've got Tank Bustas. I'm going to kind of skip mech guns for a second because they're right next to each other in the old faction pack, so it's easy to compare.
Yeah.
They also used to have bomb squigs, and they still do. Instead of Tank Hunters, where they would add 1 to the hit roll and 1 to the wound roll against monsters or vehicles, they now have Rocket Barrage, which lets them inflict battle shock at a -1. And then they can take a pulse rocket on 1 Tank Busta. Once per battle, they can select an enemy monster or vehicle within 24 inches. And if they do, you're +1 AP and lethal hits against it. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, their rockets have a standard mode, which is strength 10, AP -2, 3 damage, or a hunter version against monsters or vehicles, which is strength 12 instead. And also, they hit on 4s instead of 5s. So they're more likely to hit with their rockets. So that makes them, I think, a little bit better than they were before. They don't need the +1 to the hit roll because they already have it.
Right.
And their weapons went from strength 9 to strength 10, so they already have the +1 to wound. Yeah, I think they're better overall.
Yeah.
Now the mech guns. So the mech guns, you used to have like a smash-a-gun, and you could replace it with one of like 4 or like one of 3 different guns. That is still the case. They do all still have different profiles, but they kind of streamlined it a little bit. Like the Bubble Chucka doesn't have 3 different random profiles.
Yeah.
It just has 1 profile. But I kind of like, instead of having a splat roll to reroll wound rolls of 1, they now have a Madcap Artillery rule, which says if every mech gun in the unit has the same gun, then they can cause a different status effect. So if you have all Bubble Chuckas, which are 8 attacks, blast 3, lethal hits, but only strength 3, but also AP -3, then the unit that they hit is wobbled. Wobble units give their targets cover. The custom mega cannon, the unit is zapped. Zapped units are -1 leadership. The smash-a-gun smashes units. Smashed units are -2 movement. And the tractor cannon, which is anti-fly 2-up, grounds units. Grounded units cannot take to the skies. So you basically lose fly.
I think that part is cool.
So I like that set of rules. That actually kind of encourages you to build the mech guns like, yeah, this is all tractor cannons. This is all Bubble Chuckas. You don't have to, but you give up a unit rule if you do.
Yeah,
these are cool.
But what happens when a whole unit of mech guns with tractor cannons shoots a unit, but also decides to press that button Because that has that chance to like make something fly. So is it flight or is it grounded?
Theoretically, it doesn't lose fly. It just can't gain the benefit. It can't take to the skies when it moves. So it still has fly. So it would still lose cover because it's still lifted up, but it also can't move, or can't utilize that flight.
I mean, the flight goes away after it finishes shooting anyway. So like mechanically, it doesn't really do a lot. But like again, that's just kind of silly,
right?
Thematically,
right. And that doesn't go off. That doesn't go off until after they've, in your shooting phase, when all of their ranged attacks target a single enemy unit, roll 1d6. You could theoretically, it's just when they're targeted. So you could target them with tractor cannons, and there's a 1 in 6 chance that you will give them fly, and then thus anti-fly 2-up will kick in.
Yeah.
So have fun with that. That's cool. Let's see, war bikers. Now we're getting into our mounted units. Rather than having the drive-by DACA where their range attacks get slightly better AP within 9 inches, now if they charge, they have +1 strength and damage on their melee attacks. And otherwise, they have pretty much the same stat line as before. I did notice that they added, I guess it's just standard on the biker knob. They've got a combi rocket instead of the DACA guns. But that's got to be on the new Warbiker kit.
Yeah.
Let's see. We've got War Tracks, which we saw added in Armageddon. And they have also had their rules changed. Same stat line as before, but whereas before they could suppress a unit after they shot them, which gave them -1 to hit. Now the War Track gains lone operative if they're within 3 inches of speed freaks. And after they've shot, they can bust a unit. Other speed freak units that target a busted unit gain lethal hits. So they're absolutely kind of a support fire unit for speed freaks. But otherwise, their weapons look to be pretty much the same, with the exception of adding lethal hits non-monster vehicle on their Shuda. Def Coptas, again, pretty much same stat line as before. Still have Deep Strike. However, they no longer have Death from Above, where they can cause mortal wounds just by moving over a unit. Instead, when they make an ingress move, they get +1 to hit with their ranged attacks. And then they get uppy downy. If they're unengaged, they can go back into strategic reserves. So they can be using that ingress move +1 to hit regularly.
Yep.
The other thing I noticed is their spinning blades. It is still an option that they have. They are also armed with choppas. And actually, the choppa might be a better option in many cases, because while the spinning blades have cleave 1, they're also hazardous. Turns out if you're in a helicopter and you use your blades as weapons, there's a chance they might get broken.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a fun way to model that.
Yeah. That's understandable.
Yep. We've got the Ruckatrek Squig buggy, the one remaining named buggy.
Yep.
And it has a very different role to it, because before it could, after firing the squig launches, subtract 2 from a unit's movement on a 4-up. Now it's got Squig Barrage, which just leaves a unit covered in squigs. And if they are covered in squigs, they are -1 to hit. They are a debuff vehicle now. I mean, they were before, but now it is also guaranteed that it'll go off. The other difference is the unit composition is now 1 to 2 buggies rather than just 1 buggy.
Yeah.
So you could actually have 6 Ruckatrek Squig buggies on the table instead of just 3. Then there are all the war buggies that got rolled into a single unit. And there's really no comparing all of them, because they were all very different. They all did very different things, even though they were similar. A couple of them had the rivet cannons. Or no, one had a rivet cannon. One had a shock rifle. There were some rocket launches. They now just have a rivet cannon or a mech special, and then extra DACA. And they also prevent a unit from being able to fire Overwatch. In your movement phase, you can select an enemy visible unit other than monsters or vehicles. Within 6 inches, that unit cannot be targeted with fire Overwatch. And I'm not sure I'm assuming that means they either have to stop or start their move within 6 inches of that unit to prevent it from firing Overwatch.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's how that works. And since Overwatch happens at the end of the movement phase now, I'm not sure if you could track like, well, I moved past this unit, so it can't use it. I think it would have to be at the starter end. Like that's when you would check it.
Yeah, I suspect so.
Yeah, that would be my guess. Squighog boys also lost their 5-up Feel No Pain. Also lost on toughness. They actually dropped to tough 6, which is surprising, but they gained a 6-up invulnerable, which that's not a fair trade. 6-up invulnerables never go off enough.
Yeah.
And rather than ignoring modifiers to advance and charge rolls, they are +1 damage if they made a charge move. They also have a bomb squig that can do mortal wounds on a 3-up. These guys, I feel like, they had the bomb squig before, but it feels like again, there's a lot of rules here where it's like, this has changed a little bit, just enough so it's going to play noticeably differently, a little bit easier, but still going to feel a bit different. But I think the -1 toughness, that's definitely a debuff to these guys. Definitely a little bit of a nerf.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Slowly getting near the end. Now we're getting into vehicles. We've got the truck, which doesn't have grot riggers anymore, doesn't automatically heal. But if an enemy ends their move within 8 inches, everybody can do a rapid disembark. But they can just pop out if your opponent got too close. Otherwise, stat line's pretty much the same. They are still your primary low-cost transport. They cannot transport gas. You cannot put gas goal in a truck, just like before. Can't transport jump pack models either. Mega knobs can fit in at the cost of 2. And remember, you can fit 20 grots and 2 other models in here. I think its guns have more. Yeah, it went from having rapid fire 2 to rapid fire 4. It's got access to a rocket launcher. So it's been generally improved as far as weaponry, but it is going to be a little less survivable. You've got the battle wagon and the gun wagon, which the gun wagon is literally what if you put an ARD case on a battle wagon and then gave it all the kill cannons and cannons, whereas the battle wagon is just the transport capacity.
Yeah, I think that makes it easier just for not having to have that rule of, well, if you take this upgrade and this weapon, they have a different transport capacity. That streamlines that a bit. Makes sense to me.
Yeah. And it allows them to point them a bit differently.
Yeah.
And they have slightly different rules, but only slightly. The battle wagon is all incoming attacks are -1 damage. The gun wagon can reroll hit rolls of 1. And the gun wagon's attacks all hit on 4s, except for the big shooter, which hits on 5s. It is a reliable heavy gun platform. Or I'd say mid-range gun platform. The cannon shell is the most powerful at strength 10. And it's good. 36-inch, hitting on 4, strength 10, AP -2, D6 +1 damage, rapid fire 2. That's no slouch. Like, it's still good.
Yeah.
But both of those are going to be your heavy transports as they are now. Do you want the ARD case and big guns, or do you want just the pure capacity? Because it's 22 capacity on the battle wagon, 12 on the gun wagon, which is what it was if you had the kill cannon added. That hasn't really changed. We've got the Hunter Rig and Kill Rig, which are your two Beast Snagaboy vehicles.
There's that Feel No Pain back.
Yep. And actually went from a Feel No Pain 6-up to a Feel No Pain 5-up, so it got even better. The Kill Rig has psychic abilities, which is understandable. It's got the Whirlboy on it. And its ability is it has psychic abilities.
Yeah.
But the psychic abilities in question are Descent, which is level 1. Again, standard, do the psychic roll. If they're not battle shocked, on a 1, they're battle shocked. And otherwise, the disembarking unit's attacks that target a monster or vehicle have +1 to wound. Or Warpath, when it goes off, the unit's melee attacks have lethal hits and psychic. So, both decent.
Yeah.
And then the Kill Rig, I think, still has... They used to have a thing for every model you gained an extra attack up to 6. Now it's you get +2 attacks for every model embarked on the unit to a maximum of +22. Slight difference there. 22 attacks on the Butcher Boys weapons, which Yeah, we used to be 4 attacks, anti-monster 4-up, anti-vehicle 4-up, extra attacks. It is now the main weapon. Everything else is extra attacks, and it's still anti-monster, anti-vehicle 4-up. Yeah, being able to go from we can have up to 10 attacks to we can have up to 26 attacks. Slight difference.
Yeah, a little different.
And it can use Crushing Impact for free, or at least at -1 CP. So, yeah, this thing is kind of scary. Also, our first, I think we see this on the gun wagon and battle wagon as well, but the manner of denoting the damaged at what point they're bracketed is now just a little skull with the number of wounds remaining underneath the wound count. Just be aware of that if you're used to seeing it actually like as a separate text block. And remember, all damaged is always -1 to hit. So be aware of that. But yeah, these are basically the same stat lines as before, so nothing new there. 16 wounds, 3-up, 6-up save, tough 10. We've got Killicans and the Death Dread. Killicans are interesting in that they reduced all their They took all the Killican weapons and just made it a can blaster, but then gave it 3 different profiles they could choose from. So basically every Killican has all the weapons.
Which is nice. That makes it so that when I put my unit together, like I don't have to concern myself with which of the ranged weapons it got put on it.
Yeah, it is all of them. It has whatever you want it to have. And then they changed Shooty Power Trip, which is a random effect, to Spiteful Power Trip. The unit's attacks that target a unit that has no models with tough 7 or higher have +1 to hit. And you already hit on 4s, so anything that is smaller than you hit on 3s because Grots are finally able to bully somebody. And then the Death Dread, which used to trigger battle shock tests when it started the fight phase, now is just incoming attacks are -1 damage. So it's basically just pure Dreadnought. And no more Stompy Feet. Who needs them? You have Dread Claws. Why would you ever use the Stompy Feet?
Yep.
But otherwise, again, pretty much the same stat line. It's still your melee killy smaller robot. We've got the Morkanaut and Gorkanaut, which they both went to 2-up armor and +1 inches of movement, which is pretty handy. They are Titanic, which they were before, but they also specifically have super heavy walkers, so they move like all the super heavy walkers do, which they kind of had with clanking forward. And they have Big and Stompy and Big and Shooty used to care if they were, in the middle of the wall. Now they're just always, the Gorkanaut is Big and Stompy. It always rerolls hit rolls of 1s in melee. The Morkanaut is Big and Shooty. It always rerolls hit rolls of 1 in shooting.
Yeah.
And then they both have a gut hatch, which allows them, the units inside, to make an assault disembark move. You cannot fit Gaz inside a Morkanaut or Gorkanaut. I don't think he would physically fit.
Yeah.
But you can fit 12 Orks or 24 Grots inside. Oh, that would be, it just pops open and just Grots spill out. And then the Claw of Mork and Claw of Gork. The Gorkanaut has cleave 3. The Morkanaut has cleave 2. No more sweep move. The sweeps went from, like, on the Gorkanaut was strike was 5 attacks, sweep was 15. It is now 6 attacks with cleave 3, which does mean that if you hit a unit of 20, you would have 18 attacks. I think that's, so you could end up with more if you hit somebody at like full, like someone who was at full strength and had a big unit.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean, one of the side effects is you can't decide, oh, well, the sweep will allow me to get more attack rolls, which means I could actually probably get more damage in. No, but cleave 3 is still nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah. And
then the Claw of Mork is cleave 2, so not as many attacks. But also, you're coming in at strength 18, AP -3, 6 damage. Whatever you hit is gonna deal it. So, yeah, I think, again, so much cleave in this book. So much cleave. But both of these basically still serve the same rules as they did before. And then we've got the Stompa. Stompa, same stat line as before, except the invulnerable save is now a 5-up instead of a 6-up. And when a unit disembarks from the Stompa, it is now always riled up. And this Stompa is always riled up, which is one reason why it has a 5-up invulnerable save. Which also means the Stompa's weapons all have assault.
Yes.
And the Mega Choppa has Cleave 4. It did lose an AP. It went from AP 5 to AP 4. I think we'll be fine. But
yeah, and Strength 24.
Yep. Yeah, the Stompa always being riled up. I mean, right now I think the Stompa's like 600 points. It's 600 points right now. Always being under the effect of the Wah, always being riled up. I would not be surprised if the point cost goes up on the Stompa a bit.
Yeah.
But also, on the flip side, you can't use mechs to heal it anymore. So maybe it won't. Maybe they'll keep it at 600 and just decide, well, now it can't be healed, so it is what it is. And you also can't combine it with the Orc Walker detachment because it specifically can't be used on Titanics. So
right.
So
I mean, you still use. I would still use it, but like it doesn't gain the benefit, right?
And also, the Super Gatla has a Torrent Bullet Hose version as well, if you're within 12 inches. And then we've got the Big Ed Boss Bunka, which I was surprised to see survived.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought we were done with fortifications.
Yeah, me too.
Apparently not. And it has the fortification rule. So while an enemy unit is engaged with only fortification units, the enemy unit can be selected as target of ranged attacks. And then when the enemy unit is selected to make a fallback move, if that unit is only engaged with a fortification unit, the enemy unit is not battle shocked. Hazard rolls made for the enemy unit are automatically passed. So you can always fall back from a fortification too. So fortification is not a standardized rule, but maybe it kind of should be. And then otherwise, it still has the ramshackle cover ability where it provides cover. While this model is within range of your home objective, add the OC of models embarked on this model to this model's OC. So the idea is you plop this thing on your home objective, put a bunch of guys in it. It has firing deck 11.
And it can hold 22 Gretchen.
Yeah, so you could have 22 Grots and have OC 22 in the Big Ed Boss Bunka.
Yep.
That's actually kind of an interesting way to use it. It is meant to sit on your home objective and just be there and make it difficult to take. So cool. And then finally, the 4 flyers, which will really only matter if you're going to take the Flyboys detachment.
12 flyers sounds pretty cool.
Did I say 12?
No, there's 4, but you can take 3 of each one.
Oh, that's true. You could. I wouldn't because there's no OC. You'd never be able to score anything. But you could have a character because you could upgrade one of them to be a fly boss. So you could theoretically have an all-flyer army, but it wouldn't be good. And otherwise, like the Blitzabomber still has the Boom Bomb, which at the end of your opponent's fight phase, select a visible enemy unit within 24 inches that doesn't have lone op. And roll a d6, could be anywhere from d3 mortal wounds to d3 plus 3 mortal wounds. The Dakajet gets +1 to hit against anything that isn't fly. The Burnabama can do mortal wounds against a unit on a 2-up. Yeah, on a 2-up, the enemy unit suffers d3 mortal wounds, cannot be hidden, and all attacks against it have ignores cover as it sets them on fire and everyone can see it. And then the Wazbomb Blastojet, if it's targeting monsters or vehicles, it has +1 to wound. And if it takes the Blastojet force field, has a 5-up invulnerable save, but does not have the smoke keyword. Because otherwise it would have smoke and you could use smoke screens on it. And then it has access to the Mega Cannon, so it's the best probably against monsters or vehicles. Yeah, so basically you've got like 3 kind of anti-infantry flyers and 1 anti-vehicle flyer, if you so choose. I find them still to be kind of a novelty in this edition, but it is interesting that there's at least some official support in detachment form for them.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. Like, maybe somebody will math out which one of them will be, like, better than the others, and they'll throw 3 into a list and...
I mean, the Blastojet looks pretty good. It already hits on 4s. If you take its detachment on its Wah or on its riled up, it hits on 3s. +1 to wound on monster vehicles.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's not bad. Like that is probably the best of the bunch. Flyers no longer have anything to be hard to hit.
And you can get some really good positioning with flyers.
They are still kind of an odd unit.
Yes.
And like at least you don't have to worry about like deep striking. You should be able to, I mean, you have to come in like on the table edge, and I think that's
Right.
going to be, you'll have to figure out the right table edges to hit, because like their weapons,
At least the blast jet has good range.
the Wasbomb Blastojet can pretty much hit from anywhere.
I mean, yeah, pretty much everyone has at least 36 inches. The Wasbomb actually has a thing that's 48. So
yeah, so.
And what I've seen is the way terrain is in this edition, being able to just kind of pick your own line of sight where the enemy doesn't really get a shield. That's where flyers shine.
Yeah.
They're not going to be the great take all 12 orc things. No, but maybe one, maybe two splashed in are a good gun platform to like hit where you need.
Yeah, okay, I can see that. I would actually like to see aircraft have like a role in this edition, and one where it actually is kind of balanced. Maybe we will see more detachments like the Flyboys, where there's like, hey, here's the little, like if you want to splash in some flyers, here's a 1-pointer that will make your flyers decent.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
That would be cool, and it would make people who bought the flyers not feel bad about it like they did most of last edition.
So. I mean, I've still got my 3 Crimson Hunters.
Yeah, and hey, and maybe whenever Eldari gets a codex, that like there could actually be something for that. That would be kind of cool.
That would.
Yeah, I have all of them except a Blitzabama, so I might actually try using some of these flyers at some point.
Yeah, and that's the book. That's everything, because literally after the flyers, that's the back cover. Like that are the last page, and then just boom, back cover.
Yep.
I think a lot of the units got just like lots of streamlining, lots of abilities were simplified down, but not so much they have lost their character. Some units have actually gained a little bit more character with what they do. Lots of cleave.
Yeah, I think we see a move towards taking out some of the kind of swampy, like, you just can't kill all my boys because they've got all this feel no pain and 5+ invulnerable save all the time, and the move away from like kind of a little bit of the defensive abilities and pushed more towards the offensive abilities, which is very orky.
Very orky. And I'm curious, like obviously we only have one data point here, this one codex. I think once we get 2 codexes, we'll be able to start seeing like how much is the design? Are we moving more towards offense than defense?
I'm hoping we will, because when they started the 10th edition, they're like, oh yeah, this is going to be a more killy edition, and then all the rerolls, all the feel no pain, and so feel no pain was severely limited in this codex. I didn't see too many rerolls, so I mean, maybe this is the new design, which I'm going to knock on wood hope it is.
Yeah, I like this design for the most part. I think, actually, I won't even say for the most part. I think I like this design. I like the smaller modular detachments. I like seeing units where like, hey, it didn't really make a lot of sense to have all these different options for like one model, like having multiple weapons at the same time. So we just kind of rolled them into one profile, getting rid of choosing between strike and sweep. The weapon is the weapon and it just does what it does. Having more abilities that are consistent between characters of the same types. Like all the war bosses have a very similar kind of ability. All the big mechs and all the mechs have a very similar kind of ability. That is really cool to see. The big character, like the big monstrous characters, are all like lone op if they're near something, but they're not leaders, so you can't give them a ton of ablative wounds. Like that's all really good. I like that design. The unit design feels good. I'm curious to see what the points will be like, because orcs were already pretty strong in this edition. I don't see much in the way of nerfs here. Like a lot of this stuff is as good, if not slightly better than it was before.
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, I think it's some lateral movements of shifting things away from some defensive abilities, but adding in offense. So,
and
at worst, kind of side grades.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with this. Again, I wish I could tell you more about how the detachments are going to play, like what missions you'll be playing with them. We just don't have that information as of this point. We'll see when that is available. But overall, it's a very interesting book. I like the format of it. I like the presentation. It reads very clearly. I think they've done a good job at writing the rules. There's not a lot of weird ambiguity or corner cases. Everything seems very clear. Everything has a role. I don't think there's a single unit type that doesn't get affected by at least one detachment style. Like there's going to be something here for everybody, and everything gets a little bit of a moment to shine. We'll see if this kind of detachment style carries over into, I'm guessing Space Marines are going to be book 2 because they're the other launch army. I would think they would be.
And then Votan, right? Because we want Votan.
If I remember right, they said Custodes were going to be in the fall, so Lame. Because they're going to have to update they're going to have a new Custodes Codex anyway for all the new 30K, 40K hybrid boxes.
Well, why don't we just call the Custodes Votan and start spray painting our Votan gold?
Then you'd be running short Custodes.
Yeah, it's just like that one leader
short
they
Custodes.
Yeah. I also think it's interesting that on the announcement of the Codex release, they did mention a collector's edition, but they didn't gloss over it a whole lot. They kind of glossed over it a bit. They mentioned that it was there and that would be a hardcover version.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't spend a whole article going, look at all this cool stuff that the collector's edition will have.
Right. Yeah, they basically said, hey, do you prefer a hardcover to a soft cover? Then get the collector's edition. The soft cover is going to be in a little slipcase, and it's going to be a smaller book, and it's going to be a less expensive. I think that's the other thing I haven't pointed out at the beginning, but everything we've seen shows that the price point on this for the US is going to be $40 a book. That is the least expensive codex we've had in recent history. So,
yes. And
it is a book that is chock full of stuff because it comes in at 175 pages, 176 if you include the back cover. There's a lot in here. So for $40, that's not a bad buy. I do kind of wish that they had detachment points and things, but I understand those are going to be subject to change as well for balance reasons. So I understand why they don't have them in here, but it is weird to say this is a slightly incomplete book, but there's still a lot here to work with. And I think of everything, the thing I'm most excited about is, hey, psychers actually have psychic rules and their psychic abilities. And that was one of the pieces that I was hoping we would have in 11th edition. And yeah, so here we are. So I like the design space they've got with Riled Up. I like what they've done with a lot of the units. We'll see what the balance is like when points and detachments and such come out. But overall, hopefully it won't be OP. There's been a lot of people ever since they revealed Gazgul who have been oh, there's power creep going on. This could be really bad. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Gaz is really, really powerful. Hopefully he is pointed appropriately, and we'll find out where those 1,200 some point sample armies come into when we get the book. If those do come in at 1,000 points, then I am worried because Orks didn't get any worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, so balance-wise, it'll depend on where the points come in. Because there's also just so much lethal hit in this army. And when Orks are hitting on 5, if every 6 is wounding infantry, there's a lot of that in here. So there's definitely the potential for, if this is not pointed appropriately, this army could be very oppressive to play. So it's just going to come down to how they're pointed. Cautiously optimistic, but it'll depend on the points. So. But yeah, I think that is it for our Codex review. Thanks for, hopefully this is out as soon as I can get it out because we're on a tight schedule. But like I said, this is kind of a special release date, off week. So, but yeah, so first new Codex is out. Hopefully we'll find out soon what the second one is. But I like the format, and hopefully they'll be this interesting. So, but that will be in the future. Until then, from all of us here at Preferred Enemies, I'm your host, Rob.
Dennis.
And Richard.
Good night, good gaming, and yeah, Orks got the gubbins, or got the no Watson, or Orks got the wah.
Wah.